Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Pocketjack Comics. And they are coming to a local comic store near you. And they got some awesome, sexy covers coming in this month and next month. So go check them out, bug your comic shop. And trust me, I think you'll be very pleased with those comic covers. And right now, if you go to pocketjackcomics.com, and sign up for the email list, you get a free PDF copy in your email so you can actually try it before you buy it. So go do that, guys. They're a sponsor of the show, and they're helping making this whole season happen. So definitely go support them. But enough about them, because I have with me Dustin Brunell. So welcome to the show.
Salutations, my friend. What's going on?
No, nothing much. I'm excited. I'm always excited to have you on because you got a lot of stuff coming on out, and always, like, every month you got something. Every month.
Oh, man. It's crazy. We're at 2 books a month right now, and come August we should be 3 books a month. So it's pretty nuts, man.
Yeah, and you have a book that's up in like 47 hours.
Yeah, the Ascension Saga. You know, it's funny, that book is very interesting because I didn't write it, and when it comes to Ethereal, I write almost everything, and so. Bladen Hunter, our art director, wanted to get in on something and wrote his own shit, and it's a lot of fun. We have a couple team members working on it, and we brought on one or two new folks to work on it. But it's like short stories in this world that he's created, and it's beautiful. Like I love the artwork. I really enjoyed. Like the Stahlberg cover that came out that we brought into it. A bunch of the usual suspects from Ethereal are on there. So it was really cool.
So I'm going to show covers in a second.
Yeah, please.
But I want to dive into this a little bit more because obviously Ethereal is your baby.
Yes,
absolutely. And I don't know the full extent, so feel free to cut me off at any point. But I know a lot of it is Ethereal owned, and I don't know if you're building out a division or you have it.
All of it is Ethereal owned.
Because I mean, you and me have spoken. I don't know, and I might get the conversation mixed up. So tell me if I'm completely wrong here. But I thought you were potentially exploring possibly publishing other people's books at some point as well.
We have offered and have set up events for other folks, but we're a company that, like, my schedule doesn't work for a lot of folks. Because right now we have 78 team members, and they're all working nonstop all the time. So it was like the last time that we brought on someone that wanted to do their own book and we wanted to imprint for them. It didn't meet the standard, so we didn't go through with it because I'm real anal about our shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm real anal about it. Like, it's got to be, if it's not banging, I don't put it out.
Because you know why I asked this, right? Because if you're doing most of the writing or all the writing, and then you're handing over the main writing duty on one book to somebody, you're handing over your baby, even if it's
Absolutely.
It's a big trust thing, right?
And it really is. If you look at like Dan Wickline, right? We brought on Dan Wickline. Dan Wickline's our editor. He's also a writer as well. He did the Morgana book that we just released about a month ago. And that book is coming along beautifully. It's so fucking good. But he wrote all of that himself, right? So, but we have a project coming out and going forward where I'm writing what the book is about. Like, I write the meat and potatoes, and now we have other writers that are coming in to fill in the gaps, the sauce, if you will, between the meat and potatoes, because in reality, we're working on like 19 projects, and my brain can't handle all of it. Like, it's funny because, like, outside of the main, like, 5 books, I have like Post-its and alarms set so I can remember character names. I can remember what they look like, what's going on. Because right now, again, when you're putting out 1 book a month, it's a lot of work. When you start putting out 2 books a month, it's batshit. because when you start working on 2, you're working on 4, because you've got to have the 2 for the next month coming up, or the 2 for the following month coming up.
I don't know. Are you a wrestling fan by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Have you ever seen Kevin Nash break down how WCW was booked?
I watched him on a interview, and it sounded absolutely insane.
So you know what I'm talking about, where like they have to book 3 months out, and you have to work backwards, but then a guy gets injured in the middle of working
back. You got to change everything. Yeah. No, it's a lot like that, because you have to schedule, and when you work on a team, right? When you've got your writer, you've got your letterer, you've got your inker, you've got your oh my gosh, your I can't believe I can't think of it. Your colorist, yes, but you've also got your anyway, doesn't matter. There's a guy before the colorist, or a gal before the colorist. Flatter. There you go. It's your flatter. Thank you. I don't know why that word was eluding me. But you have your flatter.
Right. It's been a long day, everybody.
Yeah. It's been a long day for everybody, I think. But no, it's one of those things where you have these folks all lined up, right? But then you have all your look, let's use a new book for an example, right? A new book. So when I started, all our books were new, so I didn't have like character layouts or anything when I started. That was something I didn't learn to do until about 1.5 years into this, 2 years into this, and it was like, oh, well, now we have an artist that starts about 3 months before a brand new project, before everybody else, and they draw all the characters. If you follow my Facebook or anything like that, or my Twitter or anything, you can see the character designs because I post them up. And it's like, you'll be like, all right, well, this character looks like this. Well, when you first come up with that character, no one's seen it before. So you've got to write down details that you think the character should look like. Well, you got to have time to create that. It's like a 2-month-long process to lay something out with an artist. Well, then, or a good one, all right, you can rush fucking through it all you want. But if you take the time, you need to take the time. And especially if you're paying out your ass for stuff to get done. Anyway, so then you go, all right, well, now I got to schedule this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy that are cover artists that have never seen this character, because the interior artist has not drawn them yet. They have no clue what they look like. But they want to do covers because they like the concept. They like the idea of what it'll be like. So now you're going, well, they look like this, and they wear this, and they've got that. Now it's a much better process, and it's a lot easier. But it's still that 3-month window, where you got to lay it all out and give people time to work. If you take, like, we've got Renzo. Renzo is working, like I mentioned earlier, is working on the Morgana book. Okay. Renzo probably puts more lines on a page than anybody other than Blade and Hunter that I've ever seen. All right. Like, the lines are insane. So when you go in and now you're going to color those lines. All right. Well, somebody's got to ink them first, if he's not inking them himself, which Renzo inks his own. But if you didn't, you'd have to schedule someone. And that's a real person, right? That's a real person with a full-time gig or whatever else. So now he's got to sit down and go over all these lines. All right. Now you got to have the flatter. Well, the flatter has seen the designs for the characters, so they can go in and, it's basically like color by numbers at that point. You're going in, you're laying the stuff down, and then the colorist comes in over top of it. All those people have to be on a schedule, right? So you have to be like, hey, buddy, you've got a month. Hey, buddy, you've got 3 weeks. Hey, buddy, you've got 2 weeks. Hey, buddy, if you're the letterer, you've got 4 days. So it's like all these things add up to an amazing thing once it comes together. And to be frank, nowadays, I don't even see that shit until it's done, because it goes from the project manager to the art director to April with colors, who's also the project manager, to April with colors. And then it goes from there. And if they're telling you something needs to be changed or fixed or whatever else, it has to be done in those periods. Because I'm never going to make anybody go back and change after inks are put in. You know what I mean? Because that's bullshit. So it has to all be done before the inks get on it. And then you go into your colors. But yeah, everybody's got to be laid out just right, man. And if I didn't have a project manager that was real good at Excel, I'd be in such a shit. Like it just would not be great. But thankfully, I do. I have an amazing project manager.
It's
That makes
interesting.
sure. Hmm?
It's interesting. So I work in a company. Obviously, I'm a digital accessibility specialist. I also
Right?
work in QA.
Yeah.
And so when we're QAing something, you got a week to QA it. And then the DP team makes all the changes. They got 3 days. But
Right.
the goal is that they could technically have more time if I get my stuff done faster. Now,
Right.
it's understandable that things happen in life.
For
So, for
sure.
instance, there was one time in my company there was a huge 2-day snowstorm. Nobody had electricity, so
Right.
naturally everything got pushed back by two
Of course.
days.
For
It was
sure.
just going to be what it was going to be, and everybody
Right.
understood, and nobody got in trouble. But at the same time, if somebody is having a bad situation, I gotta let my boss know
Yeah.
because that's going to delay everything else. And I'm like, hey, my boss, I'm like, hey, I'm having a hard time with this,
Yeah.
and then he's that's because everybody's having a hard time with that, Andrew.
Right.
Like, oh,
Right.
it's not me, thank God.
Right. Right.
But
It's not my fault. I promise. Yeah.
but it's one of those things where it's so interesting because I think people don't talk about the process
Right.
of this, but also I think very few people are running more than 1 or 2 books.
I'll say this about that in the industry itself.
Especially on the indies, and I don't mean that
For
as an
sure.
insult. You're
No, no.
like if you're Zenoscope or you're DC
It,
Comics or you're Marvel, you're
it,
running.
it, it's never an insult. It's not an insult because of the fact that um, indies are interesting in that way, right? Because you'll get a guy that'll put out a book a year. I don't consider them an indie publisher. You put out a book a year it's a weekend thing that you had a good time with.
Is it a hobbyist? Might be a good word to use.
Yeah, that's a great word for it because that's what it is. You're having a good time. It's not your focal point of your income or anything like that. Whereas then you get the guys that put out a book once every couple months. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Still borderline. I was asked the other day if I thought comics were bloated, if I thought the indie realm was bloated. I don't feel like that because I've had pros sit with me and talk with me, and the guys have been doing this for 40 years, in the indie scene, that have been doing Dark Horse and shit for that long, and they're like, it's not. It's just that there's a billion people in the indie scene and you don't see it, but very few of them are actually in the scene. You know what I mean? They're putting books out every blue moon, but they're not in the scene. What do you think about Boom? Let me ask you that. How do you think Boom is? Do you think Boom is a big publisher?
You know what? That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if they're a big publisher, but I think they do okay revenue wise, and I think they have some big
Okay.
license.
They do.
They have WWE, they have Farscape, I believe. I
Right.
believe they have Firefly. They have Power Rangers, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. How many books do you think they put out a year?
Oof. That's a good question too.
No more than no way what they used to put out. Okay. No way near what they used to put out.
I don't know the answer, so it's like I don't want to.
I'll tell you right now, I put out more books than they do a year. But you know the name. You know the Boom name. People know the Boom name because it's in shops more than we are. And they've been around for years compared to what we have. That's the big difference. If people see your product, it doesn't matter to them. If there's 1 million products out on Kickstarter, I think Tom Hutchinson mentioned there was like 300 Kickstarters right now for indie comics, or 309 or something.
I think Rob Montari just mentioned that the other day too, like last night on my show.
Right. So the interesting thing about that, all right, those numbers are so interesting, and a lot of people don't pay attention to them. But if you look right now at the amount of them, I guarantee that 80% of them aren't putting out books next year. Guarantee it. And that's something that people, it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic because of the fact that people want to be recognized for their creations. You want to be known. You want to be seen. You want to be heard. You want to be talked about. because talked about means you have relevance, right? So I went in, and I can tell you what, I've been in this industry for 4 years, and I've been at the big kids table for about 2 of the 4 that I've been in it. And I can only name like a handful that I would consider comic book publishers, and that's based on sales numbers, that's based on web popularity, you know what I mean? Like, I think when you talk about Zenoscope's been the king of it for a long time now. They've been the king of it for a long time. Since Dark Horse got bought out, I think Zenoscope is the highest ranking indie. Because I mean, let's face it, Image is not an indie publisher anymore. I don't care what they say. They're not an indie publisher. They were, and it was great. That's just like saying Ninja Turtles isn't a big deal because they started an indie. Yeah, they started on a fucking napkin. We get it. They were indie at one point. They you know what I mean? Eastman and Laird, they broke the mold, right? So now if you look at companies and you go, well, that's indie or that is indie, yeah, cool. Look, Aspen's indie. Aspen does beautiful stuff,
I like Aspen. I like to see it. She's
right?
Great.
I mean, Fathom is one of my favorite books ever.
I mean, I love Lola XOXO. I think it's beautiful.
What a great book.
The early stuff she did in Coke with Marker,
sure.
That stuff is amazing. And it was a great interview with her. It was a great interview with her. And
I love everything they've ever done. I'll say this. I'm proud to come after a lot of these folks. You know what I mean? I'm real proud of that fact. And I think that as a company or as a publisher, period, you have to give respect where it's due, right? I mentioned Tom earlier. Hutchinson's been around forever, and Big Dog is great. They've been around a long time. He did the company. It's great. He's still doing shit. It's amazing. There are, and again, he's one of the few that I can name on my hand that, to me are full-fledged publishers, but we were just talking about Aspen. They don't put out very many books a year anymore either. Not like they used to, So do I think comics are bloated? I don't think comics are bloated. I think that we have to decide now, because of the economy, where we want to spend our money. If our buddy is putting out a book, right, and we can only afford a book a month, that's where you're going to put your money.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, this is going to sound weird, but obviously I have certain political stances and not Democrat, Republican, but I'm a big freedom of speech guy.
Yeah.
And Larry Welch just had a book with Cherry that just came out. And Cherry is an underground, very sex positive, freedom of speech based comic.
I'm a huge fan. Absolutely.
He was just on Monday night. It was great.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, it's amazing. The omnibus that came out like a year and a half ago, fantastic.
Dude, he is killing it at his age, killing it still.
He's lucky, and he got connected with Discoria, and they definitely, I'm going to say this the nicest way I could say it, and hopefully it's not going to come out offensive. They provided a path for him.
Absolutely.
I think because it's just one of those circumstances where it is a skill he didn't have, but he has the book.
Yes,
so he needed a business partner in a sense. I
spoke to him 3 years ago about what he was going to do with Cherry. And his wife, sweetest thing, they explained that's what they were looking for. They were looking for a guide in this generation. And I think that's phenomenal. I really do. I think that's the coolest thing. It's funny you mentioned Cherry, because somebody said that Penny reminded them of Cherry. And I see it, and then I look at it like it's the hugest compliment, right? Like, because Penny and Cherry are very, very different. You know what I mean? The books are very, very different. But at the same time, to be compared to such an icon is just
what I said is, I said the 3 most important people in comics are Dennis Kitchen, Larry Welch, and Al Cap. And the reason why I say that is that Al Cap revitalized, and what he did in comics, horrible human being, undeniably. A lot of things are not great about Al Cap as the person, but as a comic creator and as a visionary for comics, arguably one of the best.
Dude, there are people out there that stand alone in this industry. They stand alone, right?
And then, yeah, I agree. And then Dennis Kitchen, my argument is that his Legal Book Comic Defense Fund is Dennis Kitchen's baby, and Kitchen Sink Press and Underground Comics and championing a lot of stuff. Yep. I mean, we talk about the gay underground comics movement. Dennis Kitchen was very instrumental in that as well.
For sure.
And, talking about legal defending freedom of speech in comic books, I mean, I hate to say this, but I don't know if books today would be as free as they are without Dennis Kitchen and that organization.
I agree with that. There's like I was told the other day that, mind you, I hear every side of the fence because of the content that we do. You know what I mean? I've heard every side of the fence. And it's like, well, you'll never be able to be part of the comics code. Fuck the comic code. There is no way. Look, man, I'm never going to fit in with the good old boys. It's not going to happen. And it's one of those things where, like, we even did a cover for the Halloween books that are coming out, the crossover books that spoofed the comic code. They literally have the girls are not nude on the cover, but they've got the comic code covering up their bits. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you can say that we're not meant for, the ball gowns or the galas and all that shit. But I work with the biggest names in the industry all the time, and they come in and they work under other names so they can draw nudes or they can work on things that they normally can't.
It's interesting. So I was speaking about Larry Welch's book. I think it's Jubilee, and Marv Wolfman worked on that book, but he couldn't put his name on it during the 90s. Like, because you're drawing Cherry. Obviously, it's a sex-positive book, and I think it's understandable why somebody might want to write under a different name.
Absolutely.
In that circumstance, because unfortunately, sometimes in life, you're in a situation where if you do X and you work on X, you could lose your job.
Absolutely. And it's
a lot of money.
It really is a shame. Are you familiar with Marville?
I don't think I am.
So Greg Horn worked on a book called Marville, and they're not really expensive. They're not. They're a little bit. They're not really expensive. It was a short series, and it was about a chick. And they put her in scandalous covers on every single book. And it was a Marvel series. And the run was so low, though. The run was so low. And it's funny that, like, we'll get people, I'll give you an idea. I get about 65 to 100 applications a week is what I get. And
20 of those are mine.
Right. I'm okay with it. I mean, I always tell you the same thing. Keep your chin up. You'll get there one day.
I mean, my stick figures, you've seen them. They are fantastic.
They are. We just got to get some more lines in there and you'll be good. But no, it's one of those things where a lot of the people that come on, in the state of comic books now in the industry and the economy all over the world, not just America, all over the world, the economy, people need jobs. So art is one of those things where people come in and they're like, I can do this. Not everybody can do it. First off, not everybody can do it. So, but you have these cats that come in and they're like, well, I can't do nudes. I respect that. I respect it all day long. Whether it's a religious belief or it's just a personal belief, that's fine. But as soon as you say that I can't do it because I'm worried about my future with Marvel or my future with DC, it starts to become kind of, suspect a little bit.
Let me ask you a question. If somebody said to you, hey, Dustin, I can do nudes, but can I write under Mr. X? Would you have an issue with that, saying, I'm not so concerned, but I don't want my name on that cover. I want to use a synonym or I want to use a different name.
Right. It depends. It really does depend. Because first off, again, we have so many applications that come in, right? So many applications. And then you have you also have a level, like a tier of talent, right? And as we grow as a company, the tier grows with us, you know. So like my average was like a quarter of what I pay now. You know what I mean? And when we first started. And so it's like, if you are talented enough, and I'm not trying to sell you for your name. You know what I mean? If you're not bringing experience, you're not bringing years, you're not bringing fans, no, I'm not going to do it, because then I got to build you a career from scratch. And that's not being rude, that's being honest. I have to build you from nothing if you don't have that. So if you don't have the talent to carry that, then it's a waste of my time, because I can go, well, I've got, again, we're at like 78 team members right now.
Because you have a bullpen, right?
Yes,
is a good way to use it as a baseball analogy, where you have AAA and AA to pull from.
Yep, absolutely. Not to mention each team group has their own management team and everything like that. So it's like, if the project manager comes at me and they're like, hey, look, I found this artist, that's a different game altogether. You know, they want that person, we bring that person on. Now, if you come in and you've got zero experience, right? You've got no experience, but you can bang, you know, like you can bang, you know, okay, cool. Look, if you've just started your career and you're this badass, I'm not going to start you at the same price point that I start some of these other cats at, because the experience level.
I mean, I wasn't even talking about price point. I was just talking about name positioning,
For
because
sure.
sometimes somebody says, look, I want to use a pseudonym for this thing, where that's just my brand when I do X-rated stuff.
Yeah, I'm super okay with that. I'm okay with it, but it depends on what you bring to the table. Because if you bring a shit ton of talent, you know, but you don't have a name already, but you want to use a pseudonym, I don't mind doing that for you. You know what I mean?
So I'll throw something out there. So, for instance, Tristan, I can't think of his last name, but he goes by TriStar on some covers. And depending on the company, he is a TriStar cover, or it's I can't think of his last name at that. So for a company like Merck, it's his full, you know, Tristan Thomas is his name at Merck, but at Zenescope, it's TriStar.
Right.
And it's just that, I guess, for Zenescope, he likes using TriStar, and at Merck Mag, he's fine with Tristan Thomas.
For sure. I mean, that's it. It becomes like that, but like I'm saying, it's not out of anything weird when I say that you should use your name versus you shouldn't. When you come in with this conversation, I ask why. First off, I'm curious as to why you would want to do that. If it's because you're protecting your family, you're protecting your religious beliefs or anything like that, I'm behind you 110%. 110%. You know, but if you tell me that you just don't like the work that you were putting out, you want a new start or something like that, that doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? It's each person is different. Like I have a guy that works with us now, has been working with me for almost 4 years. Okay. Has never put his name on a single product that we've put out.
That's crazy.
You know, never. He always puts his tag on everything. And that's just because his job before, he would have gotten in trouble for drawing what he draws. And I respect that. Again, if it affects you and is not going to ill affect me, I'm super okay with it. Like super okay. But again, we're not a fit for everybody that comes through the door. You know? Like if you come to me and you're like right now we've got the red label stuff starting up. So if you come to me and you're like, man, I want to get on Crimson Sails, right? It's our first upcoming XXX title. I want to get on Crimson Sails, but I don't want to draw a vagina. I'm real sorry, that's not a book for you. You know what I mean? Whether you want to do it or not.
Now, if somebody says to you, hey, look, I want to work for you, but I don't want to be on red label. I mean, that's cool with you too, right? Because if somebody says, look, you know, I'm not very good at drawing the bottom half.
Right.
And I'm not up to the standards of red label.
You know, Well, then go. I mean, I have 2 labels. You know what I mean? Work on the blue label. If you're, but then that's cutthroat as shit, right? Because the guys and the gals that work on the blue label are so talented, it's ridiculous. So it's like, again, if we've got 78 team members and you come in and you're like, I want a spot, bro, that's like if I've got 20, I love pit bulls. Okay. I've got 2 of them. So that's like saying I've got 25 pits that haven't eaten in a week. And I'm going to walk out there and I'm going to throw a big ass T-bone, bloody as all get out, right in the middle of all of them. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. But if you come in and you're a monster, then I can put you with monsters because you'll stand your ground, you know?
This is such an interesting conversation because obviously I interview everybody from somebody who's just starting out, trying to raise $1,000 on their campaign, to interviewing some top porn stars.
Right.
And
absolutely.
what I figured out is that A, I ask and I'm not a dick.
Right.
B, I have a little bit of credibility because I've interviewed enough people and friends of friends of friends, and people vouch for me because, again, I'm not a dick. And people say, hey, this guy's asking legit questions.
Right.
And then, thirdly, people are like, nobody asks. And also I sort of act like I belong. Right. And I think that's a big thing. I think the way you act in certain situations dictates how you're going to get treated.
For sure.
So when I ask a top voice actor or a top porn star or a top comic person, I'm like, yeah, I think I belong and I think I deserve to interview you. And it's not, I mean, maybe it's an ego thing. I don't know if it is, but I'm like, I am at the level that I can interview you.
Right.
And
absolutely.
As an interviewer, I'm not at your level as an artist, but in this circumstance, this is the level I'm at, or I can fight at that level.
Absolutely. When we create a book, right? So when we sit down to work on a project, we look at all the artists, right? And we look and we go, is so-and-so going to be able to hang with so-and-so and so-and-so? Is A going to be able to chill with B and C? Because if B and C is putting out a banger and A is not going to hang with them, it doesn't do the artist any service by putting them up there, because now people are not buying their product. They're buying everybody else's cover. And if they go at that, I don't care what anybody says, it affects people. If your sales numbers are so low that I have to come up and be like, hey, dude, you're not selling. But you may not be selling because of who I put you in the ring with. You may not. You may, like, I can't take a new cat and throw them out there in the ring with Lenadai. I just can't do it. I can't take a new cat and throw them out there with Bear Witch. I can't throw them out there with DeBolfo. I can't, and expect them to.
Let's actually talk about that a little bit, because there are winners and there are losers when you put out 6 covers on a Kickstarter. I hate to say it that way. Now,
I do about 20 a book.
What'd you do? What'd you say?
I do about 20 different covers a book.
Yeah. But it's not 20 covers, like 20 different covers. It's the wilds and stuff like that. So
for sure. So it's normally 10 artists. So 10 covers plus their variants of their covers. Yep.
And then there's a few like wild ones, and there's a few other things in there too, right?
Yep.
So my point though that I'm getting at, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there's going to be a cover that's going to outperform the rest of them. Always. But the real question becomes is cover A just trailing behind by 10, and then cover B has 15, and then
never. It is
never happens.
That kind of margin. Ever fucking ever isn't that kind of margin. That's why I use the term titans or monsters, because let's use examples, right? Because we're talking about what my sales numbers are. We're not talking about other people's sales numbers.
Sure.
So if I go, this guy sold 115 copies. And that's what they sell on average for me on a pre-release. Okay. On a Kickstarter, a store release, whatever. They average 115. Okay. This guy averages 95. This guy averages 80. There's always one cat that does 20 or 30. You know what I mean? And then you as a company have to evaluate why. Why did that cat only do 20 or 30? Because we know they're talented. We know they're talented. But why did they only do this much? You know, then you have to look at the situation, the context, the content, everything that you've put into this. But then at the end of the day, again, you can't put, you know, that term new fish, right? You can't put the new fish out with the fully grown bass or the barracudas because it's just going to be a bad day.
Because
it's not their fault.
I mean, this is where I'm going with it. I think you kind of are touching on, because I think you understood where I wanted to go with this question, is that I've spoken to people and other people's campaigns, and they have 3 fantastic runaway covers, and then the other 3 are just dead in the water, and they're not bad covers, but it goes to the idea that the artist did not do their job. It's just that there's something else in play sometimes, or sometimes the artist fucked up. That could be it too. I mean,
I don't let a cover get away from me ever. So that's what happens when you have, you mentioned earlier, bullpen. You have to go from pencil concepts to the project manager to the art director. Then not only do you have to go from pencil concepts, you have to go to inks. That all goes through people. It doesn't just, I don't fuck around with that shit. It doesn't just, it's not just, hey, you turned it in, you're done. It's not how we work. So you turn in your stuff. They go through the stuff. I see the final product before it goes to color. Okay? That's when I see it for the first time. I see it then. Then I go, yeah, I think we should go ahead and go to ink. We'll ink it and we'll go forward. You know, then the colors come in, the flats come in. They ask me about the flats. Hey, do the flats look good? Da da da. Yeah, sure. If the color manager thinks it looks good, I'm okay with it. You know, as long as there's 2 sets of eyes that have seen the product. You know, but again, it doesn't matter how good it is if you put a new guy or gal against a seasoned guy or gal that already has a full-blown fan base. It doesn't matter, because a lot of times, you know, a lot of people, again, hot topics, names sell. Okay? Names sell. I can tell you what, there are about 15 artists that I think their art is shit, that sell like wheat cakes, not from us, but from other companies. They sell like wheat cakes, you know, and I've
like my art. Thank you very much. No,
I wasn't going to call you out. I was not going to call you out on this, but it's one of those things where art is subjective. Okay. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean other people aren't going to like it.
I'll be honest, there's plenty of books that I carry in my eBay store and other venues I sell, like Whatnot, that I think the art is okay and the artist is okay, but those covers are going for $50 and they cost me 15. And
Right.
I hate, like, you could call me a seller for this. I got no problem. Is that I'm talking about a 3x multiple. Like, how can I not participate because money dictates?
That's a very viable question. It's a very viable question. So what I was getting to before was, even if they've got that 20 to 30 sale range, which is paying for it's basically paying for what I paid them. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean jack shit, right? Financially. But at the same time, their fans are happy because they're getting product from their favorite artist or whatever else, right? That's important too. It's a big factor. So then you go, well, what happened? What occurred? Like I said, was it because of the content? Was it because who you were with? Was it because the concept? You know what I mean? Whatever it may be, you know. But I give people 3 months, consecutive months. If the numbers don't improve in 3 consecutive months, then we do something else. Because then I know it's not a one-off. It's not the situation you were in.
So okay, let me ask a question about this.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody sells, they're brand new, they sell 30 covers. And then the next, campaign they're on, they sell 40. And then the next campaign after that, they sell 50. I mean, is that the type of improvement you're looking at, saying, okay, maybe this person's building a fan base now and they're being developed? Because I would imagine that if somebody's brand new, you have to pump something into them a little bit.
Absolutely. I have folks that I adore their artwork, even though they're brand new, right? I adore their artwork. And we know as a company that they can bang. You know, we know this. But they haven't had the time. We just like artists that we discover, right? And it's funny that a bunch of our artists that we bring on, you'll start seeing float around other places. That's a whole nother topic altogether. But you see it. It happens, and it's good for the industry. I like
independent wrestling, right? When you find an indie wrestler and the guy is busting his ass off, and then 6 years later he's in NXT, you're like, holy shit, I remember him when I was at a show, and he was this like goofy looking kid, just kind of not bad, but clearly talented, but needed just time in the ring.
Right. That's what it is. And it you know, it's like Drew McIntyre, right? Same difference. You know, but like we'll find artists at shows that have never done a comic cover, they've never worked on anything, and take them under our wing to help them grow because we see the talent that's there that they haven't got to perfect yet. You know, and I never hold them to the same standard. That's a whole different type of deal altogether. I never expect you to go, hey, look, you're going to make 150 units in a week if you've never done a comic cover. It's not fair. It's an astronomical expectation. You know, another thing about sales in comics is the company. Do you buy from that company? If you buy from that company and you're happy with that product, chances are you continue to buy from that company because you're happy with the product. You're happy with the customer service, you know, so you go back. You look right now, if I could create pull boxes for my own shit, I would. You know what I mean? Because there are people that buy from us monthly and I love it and I'm very grateful, you know? So what I'm saying is you have these cats that come out and they're like, I'm scared to death. I've never done a cover. I'm certainly not holding your feet to the fire about your sales numbers, you know, because no one knows who the fuck you are. They've never heard of you, you know. We brought on Renee Roth, and she works on a few different things, but mostly it's our stuff. And I've never seen anybody put out covers like her, ever. And it took about 8 months of consecutive work for her to start seeing numbers that I wanted her to start seeing. Trust me, I was getting to that point where I was like, oh man, you know what I mean? We're getting.
You were getting to the point saying, did I make an error? Did I turn left when I was supposed to turn right?
Right. Now, am I getting long in the tooth with this? You know what I mean? Is this just not working? And all of a sudden we put out My Metal Girl and her stuff was.
Yeah, we can't talk about that book. That book's a little too sensitive for me.
Right.
the cover where her legs are right next to her, and it just hits me right. Like I feel
love that cover so much.
I know you do, but for me, it's just it. I mean, the cover does its job, but the problem is that for me, I view it very differently because I have a very leg physical disability.
Yeah.
I feel that in my leg. Like I feel that cover in my leg. It's terrible.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I hope you feel offended by that. I really do.
Yeah, a little bit. No, but I really that's one of my favorites. I don't give a shit. Like it's one of my absolute favorites. Because when we first previewed that, I had never ever in 30 something years of reading comics seen a cover that way. Ever. And that's so hard to say, right? That's so hard to say in this industry when people have been doing it for as long as it's been around. For you to go, damn, that shit has never come across me, you know? So
I mean, the last time I said that was with Tom when he did the 360 cover. I've never seen a 360 cover before where it's the same shot done 360 around. So you see the back of one character while you see the front of the other, and you see the side of the other. And it's like I don't even know how you set a cover like that up, or even the cover you're talking about.
We did a really fun one for Babes Born Dinosaurs where we took. I needed a cover, and I wanted one of the guys to do a bust. All I wanted was the bust. and we hadn't done very many issues. I think it was like issue 2 of BGD, and he was like, "Yeah, I got one laying around. I'll shoot it to you." You know what I mean? And what I did was I had Bladen draw a top over the bust with like a bra showing over the top or between the top and whatnot. And on the back of it, the shirt is open. So the front, the buttons are all done, and on the back, they're all open. I had never seen that, and I thought that was fun too. But no, there's so many things that almost everyone has done that it's hard to do anything different. But that being said, I think to your point, there's always a line when it comes to sales. There's always a line. If you get to a point where I'm paying out and paying out and paying out, and we're not getting anything in, either we've managed the project wrong for you as a cover artist, or we've picked the wrong person. You know what I mean? And that's a point you have to evaluate. But you don't just cut your losses at the first book, because that's not fair. You have no clue what they're going through, their life, anything. You know, because they're people. They're real people behind these covers. And I think that's another thing that people forget.
What I was going to say is, and I'm going to relate it to my job, you can't expect when you hire somebody for the first week for them to be like, I know everything, let's run with it, baby. Like, especially in new positions and very sensitive positions. In my position that I'm in, I was replacing somebody in digital accessibility, and I have a background in that coming into this job. But it took about 3 months of training before I even started feeling comfortable. And so my boss and even the other team members were very understanding, saying, we can't expect Andrew to simply pick up QA out of nowhere. He's going to need time. And then eventually 3, 4, 5 months in, I'm now picking it up and I'm faster. And I think it's very important that, you know, you hire somebody for a cover. It's great if they come out swinging and they do 150, things. That's great. But if they're brand new and you have a benchmark of 30 and they hit 32, I mean, that's kind of, I think, what you want to do, right? As a business, you want to set benchmarks. And then the next one, say, okay, let's try to hit 45 here, and then hit, 55, and then let's get to 80. And
there's so many factors, bro. There really are. I think that's a great way to look at it, because we do that, But there are other factors. Do they market the books? Do they talk about the books? Do they doodle the characters for their warm-ups? And they show people? Do they sell those? Do they talk about you? See, one thing about people is people can talk shit all the time, right? They can all talk shit. But it's the people that are talking kindly about you when you're not standing there. Do they do that? They're part of your team. Do they do that?
There's a saying, right? You judge people based on how people speak about you when you're not in the room.
You have to. You have to judge people on that. You have to judge the fact. If you have, let's say your main artist, right? Your main artist for your book. They really don't like you, though. But you don't know that. You don't know they don't like you. Now, your main artist that doesn't like you is going to act very differently than my main artist who's very happy. They're going to be talking up their product. They're going to be talking up their projects. They're going to be telling people where they can buy their next cover. That stuff is so important because it's viral marketing. I'll eat a little bit of cash for viral marketing all day long, every day. Because indies are grassroots. It's what it is. It's a movement. And if you,
I mean, let me ask you a question. How many people's books have you recommended from the indies to somebody else? Off the top of your head, or any book for that matter?
Indie books, I don't recommend any major title.
Let me rephrase it. I'm going to rephrase it. Sorry to cut you off. What was the last comic book or graphic novel you recommended to somebody, and they're like, you were right on that book?
The last comic book or novel I told somebody to read was actually Congo, which I'd read as a kid, and I've probably read 2 or 3 times since. But I recommend books all the time, but I recommend books that people are going to appreciate or enjoy. Just because, like, if you're my friend, right, you're my buddy, All right, we're great buddies. I like you anyway, so we can use you. So you and I, you're like, Dustin, I'm putting out a new book. I'm like, that's great. I'm happy for you. No sarcasm at all. I'm happy for you. I think it's a stupid choice, but I'm happy for you. You know what I mean? Fuck, I'll tell you the truth. It is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life to be successful at. But so you're like, hey, how do I do this? Fuck if I know. What do you want me to like? I didn't have like a step-by-step guide to be successful. So then you're like, well, what do you think of my book? And I am the most honest person on the planet.
I worked really hard on it, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm real hard on it. Like I'm real. Like
for those who don't get the joke, I should probably explain the joke. I don't have a comic. That's why that joke is funny.
Right.
Anyway, continue. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
I have a few friends that put out books. They no longer ask me to read them. Just because I hold my friends to the same standard I hold myself. Because I hold the industry to the same standard.
I held Scott Snyder to the standard, and I tore into his book, and he shot me a DM, and he's like, "I see your point." It was a very funny DM, and I said, "I like you as a writer, man." And then we spoke at a con about it. But I wrote a scathing review about AD After Death, and my criticism was that you had half a comic book and half a novel. This is not what I expected, and it wasn't. The concept was great, guys. You had me at the concept. But I didn't need the novelization. You were supposed to show me it, not fucking let me read it. And it was a valid point. I thought it was, but I thought it was constructive. But wasn't.
That's the point, right? If you don't tell people the truth, they can't grow. You know. So if you come to me and you can have the best writing in the world, right? The best writing. But if your letterer sucks, I'm going to tell you your letterer sucks. You know, if your panels don't read right, I'm going to tell you your panels don't read right, you know, and that's hard for people. Like right now, like I'll look back at scripts from 5 years ago and I'm like, that's the worst shit I've ever seen in my whole life of my own, you know, like of my own shit 5 years ago.
Oh, don't even start me. I've gone back because I've been podcasting for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
My first 50. Oh, they're horrible. Right. Those people are the nicest fucking people in the world, because here I am getting some of the top people in the world, like people like Eddie Kingston, Santine Phoenix, Keith Silverstein, Debbie Derryberry, Bob Fingerman, you know, all these top people, and oh my God, what a fuck up I was. And I'm so stiff.
We learn and we grow, but if people don't tell us, we don't, you know, like.
Nobody even told me, dude. I just went back and I'm like, oh my God, this is bad. But like,
we're our own worst critics, man. We really are our own worst critics for sure.
They're great interviews and the content's great. It's just that I am speaking like a robot, and like there's no personality. And then it just took me about 100 interviews to figure it out and get comfortable. And it's a weird thing, and I don't know how to explain that, but like. Nobody said, Andrew, you suck. It was just that I just sucked. And I knew I just sucked after going back.
But that's you trying to grow yourself. That's you seeing it, knowing that you need to improve. Like, I think we do that as creators. We look at our stuff, and again, we're our own worst critics. You know, we want to do better every time. Like, I talk about that with our teams every time we have a get-together. I'm like, hey, look, this looks better than it did last book, or this looks better than it did last book. You know, like right now, I've got guys and gals that are working that I could have never even imagined working with that level of talent 4 years ago. Like, I just couldn't have imagined it. You know, I had friends, and boy, am I fucking grateful I had them. You know, like friends in the industry that were honest with me, and I'm very grateful for them. You know, truth be told, still, I would have never put out The Listener if Bud Root hadn't reached out to me about it. You know, I put a eulogy out, and that started, the eulogy started a company, and it wasn't even intentional, you know? So I think that it's one of those things, again, where you bring on the new individual, either something pops off or doesn't pop off. But you got to be fair and give them the time. Again, the reason I tell people not to get into comics and try to create comics is the same reason you see that hashtag that's bullshit. Hashtag comics broke me. Get the fuck out. Okay? First off, comics take money. If you don't have money when you start, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I came in.
I'll be honest with you, not to cut you off, but like, I don't like, to me, this just seems hard. It seems stressful. It seems brutal. And if I want to, because what I take, and feel free to challenge me on this, is that I feel like all these people want to make comics to make money, and they think it's an easy way how to do it. And my response to that is, you should be a stock trader, or you should just flip books. You should go and build a tech company. You should go and collect baseball cards and flip baseball cards, which is what I do, because I'm interested in making money and gaining financial freedom. And as much as I would like to tell stories, I really have evaluated this circumstance in my world, and it just seems brutally hard. And I think I would kill myself, to be quite honest.
It is the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, it is literally the hardest thing I've ever done.
This show is hard enough for me. It's hard enough for me. And I'm doing this where it self-sustains. I don't consider it a hobby, but it's also not my main income.
It's a side hustle.
It's a self-sustaining side hustle that acts as a researcher.
Love it. You know,
my eBay business is an eBay business side hustle that produces me real capital.
Right.
But like, and that's where I'm at, where the hashtag comics broke me. It's because it's that you thought you were going to make money doing this, and you thought it was going to be easy, bang, bang, write me a check for $10K. And
my first, I didn't get out of the black for 2.5 years. And I, even at that time, I considered myself remotely successful. You know, when did we have our first interview? It had to be like 2 years ago.
Oh no. It was like 3 years ago, because I started doing this stuff in COVID when everybody was getting fucked over in the home
industry. So I considered myself remotely successful then, and I still didn't get out of the black till 2.5 years into this. So, and I've only been doing it almost 5. So I didn't make a dime till 2.5 years later. So that's the biggest thing when you talk to people about where they're going in comics or what they want to get out of it. You know, you have every now and then you'll have someone pop off, right? Like, you'll have someone pop off real hard. And it's either because they had a relation with someone that could get them in, you know, or they had capital that they could throw around, you know. Like, I took out a $5,000 loan when I started The Listener. And The Listener, oh my gosh, the first issue, I think I made $1,100, and I probably spent $3,300 putting the book together, you know.
You said, did I make a mistake, was your question in the back of your head, right?
Right. That's what it was. Was this a mistake? And then I got to go tell my wife that I didn't make no money, but I spent all this money.
And then you tell your wife, but you tell your wife, you say, honey, I hope you forgive me. And then you tell her, right?
Yes, this is an investment, because it was an investment. And then book 2 came along of The Listener, and I made a little bit more, but I still spent about the same. And it was not till, and then we did it with Greed. Greed was a little bit better. Greed did about 3,000 in pre-orders for the first issue. But then it was Babes Going Dinosaurs that was the book that started pushing things up. And I remember sitting in a hotel room going, if I don't make $8,000, I'm done. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we had done a show, and I was like, we're hitting all these shows because that's what we're told to do. We're told to go on the live streams. We're told to go on the shows. We're told to spend the money traveling, right? We're told to do these things because that's what's going to make you successful. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. The year I took off of doing any shows, I'd only talked to you, I think, I took a whole year off and didn't do any fucking, except my own. I did my own shows, but I didn't do any shows. I didn't do any interviews. I didn't travel at all. I mean, mostly because I was trying to build my business, but health and stuff as well. I made 6 times what I made the year before. And it was such a revelation to me. Because before that, I had If It Hops had just come out. And If It Hops is a banger. We love C. Most folks love C. She's a lot of fun. But we, BGD, If It Hops, and then Fallen Leaves dropped, and Fallen Leaves changed everything. Again, it was such a difference. If you look at BGD as being successful, If It Hops as being even more successful, Fallen Leaves was like, BGD was minuscule compared to that book, and I love BGD. It's one of my favorites, but it as far as a company and what we gained from it, Fallen Leaves was smashing, and when I started looking at those numbers, I started going, what did I do different? Like what was different? And in reality, I didn't do anything but work more. Like I just worked my ass off for a whole year and didn't do anything, didn't go nowhere. I just worked my ass off and took medication. And
it's funny. This is funny because I've pivoted and I'm actually doing less interviews and I'm doing better on YouTube. And I'm becoming way more selective. I'm figuring out how to put people next to each other. And then I started introducing micro content. And all of a sudden what starts happening is that because of my micro content, I went from 360 subscribers up to 582 in about 11 months. So and my viewership's up, and I'm not saying I'm about to make millions of dollars, but it is crystal clear that because I cut up content and I actually have really good micro content, the path to monetization on YouTube for me is that. And it's just more content.
It is amazing that you can do those things, but no one teaches you how to do that. You know what I'm saying? No one says this is how to be successful.
In fact, the industry disagrees with me on what I'm doing, where people challenge YouTube and they challenge that thought process. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm doing really, really well here because I'm viewing it as a slow burn. And I'm viewing YouTube as Netflix. It is a database that I don't need when I cut up a piece of an interview that's 3 minutes long to do well today. I need it to do well for the rest of the company, my channel's life.
Well, you can easily pull like a portion of an interview, right? Like you've got a portion. Let's say you talk about something interesting with me and it lasts for a minute and a half, that particular segment. Then you can go into another interview that you do and drop that into that other interview and be like, hey, did you see that conversation I had with so-and-so? It's tools that you have to use. And a lot of people won't think of things like that.
I could do that. TikTok is really important. Instagram Reels. All of a sudden, TikTok, we're talking 300-400 views in like 12 hours of like a 60-second clip.
But that's important to you. That's important to what you're doing. And you have a method to your madness, right? And that's what it takes to be successful. That's like when I told April the other night, I was like, this takes lightning in a bottle. I did it once. I did lightning in a bottle one time. I created this amazing company. I don't know that if I died and came back, I could do it again. I don't know that I could do that. And
you know what Mark Cuban said about entrepreneurship, right? First in the time when he first started and how he built his wealth and where he is with Shark Tank right now. He said, look, I think it could be done again, but it'd be really hard because I got lucky and I was just in the right time at the right place. And I just got lucky. And I'll be very honest, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I've had plenty of great investments in my portfolio. I bought plenty of great books that I've sold for a lot more than I paid for. And I was just in the right place at the right time in many circumstances with people. And, I got to interview the Bushwhackers before one of them passed away. And I just met the right person at the right time.
Well, that's what it takes. It's again, it's situational. Everything you do,
without a doubt, it's luck. I would say 25% luck.
you have to have some kind of something, right? Like some kind of something. When I started BGD, I remember my wife going, "What are you going to call that?" And I was like, "Fuck if I know. It's got babes, gore, and dinosaurs in it, you know?" And it was like, as soon as I said it, like as soon as it came out of my mouth, I remembered as a kid how well the Cadillacs and dinosaurs had done. And I was like, even though my book is nothing like Cadillacs and dinosaurs, I still was like, man, that's so catchy. And my wife was like, the title's really long. And I was like, yeah, but the acronym is not, 3 letters, and it did well. And then going forward, I had this concept of like, look, when people judge a book by the cover, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. They do it. It's a fact. But people also judge by the title. All day long, judge by a title, That's like you got these cats that come out and they're like, I'm going to do a superhero book. Sure you are, pal. Bet you are. Do a superhero book.
Let me. We'll play the game since we're going to do this. I'm going to use 2 titles, and I'm curious how you feel with them. Gun Honey. Are you interested?
Absolutely, because I mean I've read it, but absolutely.
Oh, it's great. I love Gun Honey.
Right. It's the name catches your attention because you're immediately going, well, it's not a bumblebee with a gun. It's got to be a cute chick that's wielding the weapon. That's what it's got to be. So as a dude, I'm immediately intrigued by 2 things. The fact that you're talking about guns, which I enjoy, and you're talking about women, which I enjoy, not just for their bodies, but for their company, and I love them. So my wife especially. I love you, sweetheart. But that's it. As a consumer, you're using trigger words. That's why I was being so facetious just now, because you're using trigger words to a consumer. Now you're going, if you do a book titled, I don't know, Batman, right? You do a book titled Batman. Damn, that sounds neat. A dude mixed with a bat. That sounds like Dracula to begin with. You know what I mean? That's already interesting to me. Say, or you do Wolfman, right? You're like, fuck, that sounds really cool. Lycanthropy is neat. I'm down.
I mean, think Fables, right? Fables. You're like, cool. What are we going to do?
Love Fables. Absolutely. It was a great read. Still, it was a great video game. The sequel, I can't wait for it. That whole deal was good. The concept of Fables was interesting because it can go anywhere. You could go any different way with that because there's so many.
Fables. I bought the box
so
set.
Good. Yeah,
I bought the box set of it worth $120, and people were like, but they did the guy wrong, like Bill Willingham wrong, and I'm like, I get it, everybody, but Fables is so fucking good. Like,
it's so good. It doesn't.
Everybody gets a pass.
As a consumer, that's right. As a consumer, it's an incredible story. It's an incredible story, and I think that we're influenced by a lot of things and we don't realize that we're influenced by them. Like as a kid, I was a big Ninja Turtles fan. I was a big Street Sharks fan. Fuck, I loved the Mighty Ducks on Disney. I was a big fan of all those characters, all the anthropomorphic characters. Now, do I think that influenced Babes Gore Dinosaurs or If It Hops? Fuck, I'm sure it did. But I didn't think about that at the time. I just thought about what I wanted to write and what I thought people would consume. Do you enjoy this? Yes. Do you like mystery? Sure. Do you like murder? Yeah.
To be honest, obviously I was joking, in which obviously I don't have a comic. I don't know if I'll ever do a comic. I have an idea in my head. But one of the books that influenced me was a book called Hungry Ghosts. And okay. I don't recommend many books. There's been about 3 books that I've recommended to a lot of people. Ready Player One, Punch Escrow, and Ghosts.
Ready Player One was a good one. Now that was a good one.
Oh, it's fantastic. Did you? I didn't read Ready Player 2 yet. I'm so
I've not read Player 2 yet because I just don't have the time. But there's trigger words that you've just used in that title to video game players. So now you're letting people know without letting people know that this is a game about, or a movie about playing video games, or a book about playing video games. Ready Player One.
My story is that my friends know that I don't recommend many things to them. So
Right.
when I recommended Ready Player One, I'm like, dude, did you read it yet? Did you read it yet? And when I said to my friend, I said, go buy it at Barnes & Noble for $30. And if you don't like it, I'll give you $30. 20 pages in, he's like, you're right, Andrew. You're right. So then same thing, and then he read Punch Out, where he's like, fucking hey, you're right again.
Right.
And then for comic people, Anthony Bourdain's Hungry Ghosts is an anthology, and it's basically 100 candles, and it's brilliant, and it flows so well, and it's a beautiful book. It's a hardcover book. I think it's like $16 by Dark Horse. It's not that expensive, and my point is that it is a perfect anthology that works so well.
You know, and I think that, again, you're talking about marketing. You're talking about what sells, what makes things sell, and using trigger words in anything makes them sell. It's just like, again, we talked about it earlier. Using, like, you see these little teeny companies that are trying to get attention by using other people's characters on their covers. Same difference. You're not selling well, so you want to use someone else's stuff to sell your product. It's not cool. It's plagiarism, but whatever. The fact is, it's the same difference. You're not being successful, so you want to use this to make yourself successful. You want to step on the back of Titans to get where you are. And that's
what did The Undertaker say? Because you're a wrestling fan, and what is the famous quote by The Undertaker?
I don't know. What is it?
The toes you step on climbing your way up, you need to remember that they're attached to the asses that you'll be kissing on the way back down.
Oh, for sure.
And so if you step on the backs of Titans, and look, you know, it's okay to reference things, and that's fine to some degree. And look, everybody has to do it, but if you continuously do it, there is going to get a breaking point.
Big asses you got to kiss afterward.
There's going to be a breaking point, and you're going to fall down, and it's going to be an unpleasant fall. So
well, it's interesting. Again, like when you learn to read, right? Like I'm going through it with my 5-year-old. Right in this second, you have sight words, right? You have sight words that are easy for you to pick up and you read. You know what I'm saying? They help you get through a sentence when you're first starting. Trigger words are the same way. They immediately elicit a thought in your head. If you know, and they're different for different people. So that's like There Be Shadows is a book that we release. And the reason I titled it the way I did was because it doesn't sound like proper grammar. There Be Shadows. What does it sound like? It sounds like a fucking pirate. Doesn't matter who you are. There Be sounds like some kind of historical, like you're speaking Old English. You know what I mean? It's just not proper. But it's interesting now, because now you're like, well, what kind of character would say there be?
Boarding a sea ship, or is it, some night stuff? Is it going back to Camelot?
So There Be Shadows is actually a playoff of old stories. Like, we're not going to call them fables because we just talked about fables, but they're old story. It's a take on old stories.
They're tales from the end of time, or the back end of time.
Let's go back. If you look at Disney, right? Disney borrowed stories from a lot of places to create the characters that they did. And I remember when I got into
Willie.
Oh, Jesus. I'm the only one that I know that hasn't touched that. I'm going to, though, just for the fuck of it at some point.
It's crazy. Leaf Metal, I love Leaf Metal. They touched Steamboat Willie, and they did Leaf Metal cards, and they're awesome, and they're expensive, and I have a bunch of them, and oh my God, they're great.
We're going to do something with Jessa and put Penny on a Steamboat Willie cover. Anyway, so my point was, if you take There Be Shadows is about a young boy that's nickname is Hook. and he gets all his family is passed, and he gets put into a foster home. Not a foster, it's like a boarding school for young dudes, right? And he meets his best friend Jonathan Smee there, but they happen to be brought into some paranormal events that are going on that the church knows about and stuff, and the kid is learning and investigating. It's a lot of fun to me because the references are great. I mean, you've got a young dude with the moniker of Hook and his best friend Jonathan Smee, and then you're dealing with a Pan, and you're dealing with fairies, and then you're dealing with crocodiles and stuff and lions, and it's just a ton of fun. And it's almost like my take on Fables meets Harry Potter. Like it's so much fun. But anyway, the point is trigger words when you're trying to get people's attention, but you can't. It's just like cover art, right? And I'm gonna hurt some people's feelings when I drop real honest knowledge on folks right this second. If you're not gonna put shit in your book, don't put it on your cover. You know what I mean? Sorry. It's false advertising. I don't care. It's the truth. If I put nudity on my cover, there's going to be nudity in my books, and that's to let you know that there's nudity in my books. And I think it's fun, and I think you can do stuff with covers that's amazing. But don't give people, false information. Doing fun covers and spoofing covers is fun. Homages is great. Cosplay covers are fun. But if you put nudity on your cover, put nudity in the book, or I'm going to be upset.
I don't know. See, I'm a little bit different because I think there's a way how to do it in a nice way, but there's also an honest way how to do it. Like I think Zenescope does a good job of doing that because I think their audience knows.
Yeah, but they don't put. You have your Z-rated covers with Zenescope.
Yes.
Okay? You have Z-rated covers, but they are ahead of the game and letting you know that we're a PG-13 book.
Yeah.
That likes to do pretty covers. That's what it is. There's no false advertising.
You're honest about it, and
that's exactly right. There's nothing misleading about what they do.
Yeah, that's what I mean by doing something tasteful. Is that
absolutely?
And Tom every once in a while does a nude cover.
Every now and then Tom does, yep. But
and
he's also
it's open, it's honest, it's what you're buying, and you
right.
understand.
There are plenty of companies that come out and will put out some serious covers, and then you get in there and you're like, God damn, that was boring. Like, that was not anything. Like, I'm a grown-ass dude, man. You know what I mean? Like, if we're talking about X or X or triple X together, if we're talking about it, be honest with me about it. I'm grown. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to beat around the bush. You know what I mean? Or beat on the bush even. If I'm telling you that this is what you're getting, this is what you should get.
So one of my favorite books that I've ever read is Lost Girls by Alan Moore.
For sure.
I did what?
He's a monster. Look, he's a monster. He disappeared and went and lived in like a hut for fucking years. Comes back looking like a goddamn grizzly man and puts out more content. Like, it's just like the guy is incredibly talented. Fuck off. Don't be like, I read this by Alan Moore and it was good. Was it? How good was it, Andrew?
That's not my point. My point that I'm getting at is that Lost Girls, I don't think was released in single issues. But that's a perfect book that if it was, that you would have X-rated covers or nude covers that would be fitting for the book, was my point.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a ton of good books. I think that, I don't think they're around anymore, but Broadsword used to put out in the, 2015, 2016, they were putting out some really heavy stuff. But when you open the book, even I blushed. You know what I mean? Like they put out some heavy stuff.
Last book that made me forced to stop reading it due to the graphic and the sex was Faust.
Well, I mean, Faust is Faust. You know?
Yeah, I knew it.
Another one. That's
I was
another one.
warned. I was warned, and I didn't take the warning seriously. And boy, was I in for a surprise! Great,
So
absolutely great.
I have one. There's only been one that's ever really got me. Actually, there's been a couple, but the biggest one that got me was Event Horizon.
I don't
If
know
you've
this.
ever read the novel, the film was great. The film was great.
I don't know this one.
All right, so Event Horizon, you need to watch it if you haven't. It's got Sam Neill in it, who we all love. Sam Neill.
I've never
And
seen it, so I have to put it on my list.
yeah. Event Horizon is so amazing. The film is so incredible. It way ahead of its time. Like serious mind fuckery. It was really, really well written. Anyway, the novel was incredible. And I was probably, it was way ahead of my time. I think I was like 10. Because I've been bookworm all my life. And my parents were like, "Oh, we love that. You know, he reads books. Well, maybe you should have previewed them before I read them." Anyway, that's why I write what I write now. So, because you didn't monitor what I was reading. Anyway, so no, Event Horizon, there's a scene in the novel where these two people are fucking, and she pulls out his eye and eats it while they're just getting at it. And he's eating her. He's like biting into her collarbone and stuff and just gnawing on her. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That's a bit much. You know, that's a bit much. To this day, I've not read that novel again, just because it just was a lot. It was a lot, and it's funny that topic comes up because I had an artist. He's a great artist, phenomenal artist, tell me that they could not do a cover because they thought it was torture porn. And they thought the book was. And do you remember that scene I did in Babes Going Dinosaurs 1 at the very end of the book where
Yeah, I know the scene. I know the scene.
Right? She's eating the chick. And it was funny to me because as an adult, we can make a funny joke about the scene that's happening. You know what I'm saying? And the readers all got it. Everybody enjoyed it. He read it and for real thought I was like down. And I was like, well, hey, you know what I mean? It was a scene. It made sense. Don't read into it. You know, it wasn't anything crazy like that. And I remember him just going, I don't think it's for me. And I was like, I totally respect that. I understand. It's probably the wildest scene I've written to this day, to be honest with you, and anything like that. But it was still like, it was well received. He has been the first person to tell me that it was tough for him. And it reminds me that sometimes we, again, and like you with the bottoms on covers, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I often don't think of things like that. I'm often like, now to be fair, I do 3 versions of almost every cover I put out. You know what I mean? But I don't think about it, to be honest.
I'll be honest. So the cover that I thought it was just distasteful was the Power Hour Princess Leia full nude with her vagina showing. I thought it was just disrespectful to Carrie Fisher, and I thought
Absolutely.
I thought the slave Leia thing was fine. I thought her holding her whiskey glass was fine. I thought her being topless was pushing the line, but okay, that's fine. I thought her full nude was very, very crossing a line for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, though, that goes hand in hand with that's not your character. You know what I mean? Again, we're pushing that what I was just talking about. You don't know how the people that created those characters feel about certain things. So you're putting them in circumstances that they didn't intend. And if you want to write fan fiction, write fan fiction. That's your right to write fan fiction. No one gives a shit. But don't try to make my character something they're not.
There was nothing artistically wrong with the cover.
Right. No, it's the concept.
The concept of her fully nude. That's where my line was.
I'm with you. Like if it wasn't my characters, like I own them, right? I can say, hey, look, I don't mind you doing this because I own this. If you want to do this, like April has her Squeeze Some book coming out on Friday night. Same The same thing with Babes Going Dinosaur. She's got her Squeeze Some book pre-orders for the Red Label coming out on Friday night. And she takes prompts to draw things from the prompts that she puts in the book, you know? So, but because she works with me, she's able to use our characters in those books. So, man, there's been some predicaments I had never thought my characters would be in those prompts. But I approved it. I'm okay with it. You know, it's funny. No one's taking it seriously. It's not like it's canon. You know what I mean? But if you were to take, if we didn't work together, right? And you took Agent C, and I hold Agent C way up there. If you took Agent C and drew her in a predicament and were trying to sell prints of her, and all you did was change, like, you gave her a different hair color, I'd be mad as fuck. Like, I'd be mad as fuck. Because now you're doing something that you didn't ask me if you could do. Like, when we do a cosplay cover.
I'll throw something up here.
Yeah.
Proof point. So, obviously, I mean, this is my advertisement, but that's my logo.
Right.
And it's a cute little elf. Obviously, right. She's inspired by a bunch of different things.
Right.
But I think she's enough of her own thing where there's some Zelda in there, there's some Leaf in there, there's some just elf shit in there.
Right.
But if somebody took my elf and stripped her naked and just had her nude and then put it on a print or put it in their comic book, I'd be mad as fucking hell, and there'd be lawyers involved really, really fucking quickly.
Well, see, the thing about the elf that you just posted is it looks like a generic elf, right? Any elf can be an elf with blonde hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, in reality. So if and that's how these things are done, right? That's how these things are worked into things. Like right now, if you were to take any character that is generic, no one can say anything about like, I've got a dwarf character that has red hair and freckles, right? Now, if you take my dwarf character, you draw a red-haired dwarf with freckles, right? She resembles my dwarf. But the minute you give her shield that has the emblem on it that we created, that's no longer a random dwarf. That is now the dwarf that I created, because now you're letting us know that you've taken, and this is what you're claiming, you know, and that's one of those things. So, no, it's a respect thing. And I think that if we're going to exist, right, we have to be respectful to each other. If we're not, we're no better than animals. And I got news for you. I said it, and I've told you, I've said it a million times. There are an infinite people that want to get into this industry, and only a handful of people in it. So the minute you make yourself look like a piece of shit within the handful, it doesn't go away. Now you're a piece of shit. It doesn't leave, you know, because there's so few people that it lingers, right? Like, that shit's on your ass for the rest of ever, you know? So I think that going into things, as if you're going to do a cover and you're going to do a nude cover, it has to be yours or it's disrespectful. And I know that people are going to argue and people are going to tell me I'm wrong. I don't care. A lot of it is people that are trying to sell prints, or they're trying to sell this, or they're trying to sell that. And whatever, man. No one can tell you what you can and can't draw, but people can tell you what you can and can't market.
So let me ask this, because even to further expand this, I think it's interesting, is that I think there's a right way how to ask for an interview. I think there's a right way how to talk business with somebody. I mean, yeah, you don't mind me disclosing something between us about business really quickly, is that we were speaking about me ordering and buying wholesale from you, and I couldn't do 50 bucks, but I could do 15. And I mean, I don't think you're going to mind me saying, I said, hey, I don't mean to be offensive, but could we do 15 at that price point? And you're like, absolutely. Because you understood I want to test the market, and that I don't want to carry 50 bucks because
for sure. No one wants to do that. Like, so now at this point in time, I shoot boxes to stores. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, do you carry our product? If not, here it is. Check it out. If you like it, cool beans. If you don't, that's also cool, you know? But what I spend, like if you go for an unlimited cover, right? It's unlimited cover A or whatever. If I pay for the print and I pay for the shipping, it's whatever dollar amount that it comes out to. But it's still worth more to me to have a shop with my book selling it than it is for me to worry about $50. You know
The
what I
point
mean?
I was getting at is that there was a right way how to approach that
For sure.
situation
Absolutely.
versus a wrong way. And there's plenty of people, and this goes back to the cover thing, that they ask, say, hey, I got a book. Do you have a spot in show? I'm like, what the hell is your book? You have
Right.
to make my life easier as an interviewer. Andrew, here's my book. Here's a copy of it. Why don't you read it? And if you're interested, bam. Because guess what you just did? You just sent me a copy of your book so I could see what the hell we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Not you personally, but somebody who's just randomly shooting me a message.
Right.
And I think this goes back to covers, is that if you're going to do any type of cover or anything that's nude or anything of that nature, or you want to do a cosplay cover, there's a right way how to do it and a wrong way how to do it. You did a Jill Valentine If It Hops Agency cover. There's a right way how to do that, where you did pause instead of stars. And there's a bunch of stuff in there that makes it crystal clear that you're parodying Resident Evil 1, Jill Valentine. It is crystal clear what this is, and you're making it your own, but it is yours.
Right. We are letting you, like a cosplay cover and a parody. Parody is very different. And parody law is very, very fine. But it's one of those things where I want to give tribute to you and your creation. Just like I want to give tribute to everybody that's come into comics before us. I'm so proud. Man, bro, like Andrew, I am so grateful for the people that have come before us and have been accepting to us, you know, and the fans that have come before us and looked at all these amazing things and then come see us and like what we do. I'm so fucking grateful. But when you look at that cover, which was so much fun, I love that cover. When you look at that cover for If It Hops 1, you go, damn, the rabbit's cute, but I loved Resident Evil. Like, I loved Resident Evil. Like, I did. I loved it. And that's 90% of people. They're going to love Resident Evil. You know, they really, really are. And we did a set of our favorite video games, all of us. So like for almost 6 months, we each picked a game to tribute even on the covers. You know, like somebody, I think Bladen did Mario Brothers, but he did it like the Mario Brothers movie. And it was Cade and Oz dressed as Mario and Luigi. And it was Lilith dressed as Peach. Like, you knew that it was Cade and Oz dressed as Mario and Luigi. Literally, the letters on the hats were the, like, O and the K. You know what I mean? It's like, that's cool, man. That's super fun because everybody knows it's the difference, you know, and you're out there and you're pushing it. And you remind people of how much they enjoyed those products, you know? It's not going, hey, look, I got Mario on my cover, buy my book. You know what I mean? Like that motherfucker's got the M and everything, and he's got a little fire flower, and now he's got his thumb up his ass. I'm not a fan of that. What is happening right now? It's just not great. Like, you know, how bad is that, right? The guy that voices Mario, love the guy. You know, the guy that voices Mario. He comes on and he turns on his fucking social media, and then there's a cover with goddamn Mario with his thumb up his ass. And he's like, ha, you know, woohoo, you know, what the fuck, man? You know, that certainly wasn't approved, but here we go. That was funny, and I didn't even mean to go. But yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. It's just like, to your point with Princess Leia, it's very sad to me because, again, if you dress the character, you dress your character that you own in the Slave Leia outfit, that's fun. It's fun. You know, people get it. Nobody's trying to take $1 off your back, you know, or food out of your kid's mouth or shit. But like, when you take people's stuff and you make prints of it or whatever, and you go to sell it, now you're breaking the law. You know what I mean? And it's not cool because not everybody has Marvel money. You know, not everybody's got, you know, DC money or WB money. You know, they're out there fighting for their shit. So when you like, I'll use Stabby Bunny because it's one that sticks out to me. I never read it, but they've done a couple great covers over the years, and I've seen it shows. So yeah, Stabby Bunny. You can't go take his shit and put it on a print and sell it at a show and think that that's okay, because it's plagiarism. You're taking money out of his pocket. And what we do at shows, most shows now, like bigger cons, if you go to them and you tell that, like, let's say there's this dude that's like set up a print shop and he's got prints of everybody's shit, Marvel, DC, whatever the fuck. And then all of a sudden there's an ethereal piece up there and he doesn't have the rights to use it. If we go and tell the showrunner that he's selling our shit, they pack him up and kick him out. It's happened twice. You don't get a refund for your booth or nothing. So some of the booths are $1,500, man. Don't steal people's shit, especially people that are going to be there and see it. I mean, man, look, we all need to make money. We do. We all need to make money. We all need to exist. Hell, I got kids I got to take care of, But thankfully, all mine live in the same house and I love them to pieces. I don't have anything crazy going on. But I still have to pay for them to eat, and I still have to pay for them to have clothes.
That's the thing in which that I'm very honest about this, where, I mean, I have sponsorships, but that's the thing too, is that even with this show, and I'm openly honest, it is not free for me. StreamYard is expensive. It's my time. Other things are invested into this, and I'm not interested in charging people, but people don't show up for this show. And then also, I get really annoyed when people treat this as a joke.
Right.
And I'm not charging for the most part, unless you want me to do something crazy. Like if somebody really wants this thing cut up like tomorrow, but that's a different discussion. And somebody wants all the micro content out of this. That's also a different discussion. But again, I'll charge for ad space. I'll charge for micro content ad space, but that's also a different product. But again, I think people find like, and it bothers me because we all have to exist.
Yeah.
And then I've had situations where people are like, "Oh, you're running ads. I want a piece of your ad run." And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Why should I give you that? You know what I mean? Like, why should? So, like, if people don't think about it, right? Like, man, I'm about to open a can of worms.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm about to open them though. I don't want to get into the back and forth with an Andrew. I'm letting you know just ahead of the conversation. I respect everyone's opinions, but there's only one right one. So anyway,
I'll be glad for this part then.
Yeah. There's only one right one. We talked about plagiarism. People don't think about the ramifications of what AI is doing to artwork. They don't think about that, because right now, as a publisher, I won't use it. I won't use anyone that claims to be an artist that uses it. Again, I've told you before, I feel like there's a lot of great places for it to be. There's a lot of great places. The art world is not one of them. But what people don't think about is they think about this amazing tool. That's what they see. They have an amazing tool that can help them create things that would take an artist weeks and hours upon hours and days upon days of their time to create in moments. You know what I mean? But what they're not thinking about is that's people's livelihood. Like right now, you look at major publishers that are going, well, we already do paper cheap. You know what I mean? Why not go this route cheap? And that's how they view it. And it puts people out of work. You know what I mean? I know as a human that there is no end to this machine. I understand this. Okay. I get that. And like I said, the technology can be used for amazing, amazing things. But when people sit down to use it for artwork even, there are ramifications to the world that we're not looking at. Like
it's
or publishers aren't paying attention.
In there. I'm going to break the silence, but it's the idea that, have you seen, what was it, Tomb Raider 2, where they open up Pandora's box?
Yes.
In Tomb Raider 2, and then all the bad shit starts happening.
Yeah.
But whether you think Tomb Raider 2 is good or not is not the point.
I enjoyed it.
I thought it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It was good. You know, if it's on television, I got nothing to do on my Friday night.
Right. You know what I mean? And she's not terrible to look at. So whatever.
But the point that I'm getting at is that another analogy that I'll use is once you open up the genie, you can't put it back in the bottle so easily. And so with AI art, that's what it is. Once this tool was introduced, there's a lot of good stuff that's come out of it, but you can't put it back in.
Right.
And then the world has changed and it becomes an ethical question.
Right. Now you're like I have people that have told me they appreciate the fact that we support artists. You know what I mean? And to me, being able to take a photo is very different than me being able to draw what you took a photo of. You know what I mean? I have artists that I know that can draw true to life all day. It takes hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, but they can do it. But the ethical question is, do I need you to paint my dog, or can I go take a picture of my dog? You know what I'm saying? It's a very different type of thing. Human beings like immediate gratification.
So obviously, I mean, my dad took that photo.
Amazing photo.
In Africa. So he goes on safaris. And I think there is something to say about taking a photo. And obviously that was a lot of editing. And that was hours and hours of editing. And obviously AI software was used in the help of the editing of that. But he still took the photo.
Right. Absolutely. So, nothing can take that from him.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, do I need you to paint my dog or can I take a photo of my dog? Both those things are perfectly fine.
Absolutely. I'm just saying, it's a preference type of thing now. Can you paint it? Can you paint the dog, or can you take a picture of the dog? It's a skill set. Okay. So when you say I can paint the dog, I'm like, well, that's dope. I can't paint the fucking dog. You know what I mean? I can't paint it. I can take a picture.
No. We can paint the dog. We're just going to paint it shittily.
Yeah, it's not going to be great. You know what I mean? But all I'm saying is what we don't think about is the ramifications of what it does to people. Like it was the joke, and I'm a big Jurassic Park fan, huge Jurassic Park fan. There's a scene where, you know, they talk about they no longer are going to need archaeologists any longer. They can just walk out in the yard and pick up a dinosaur bone. You know what I mean? And that to me is very relevant to what this is. It's not going to happen in our generation. It won't be ours. But the following, you're going to right now. How many museums have you been into your life, Andrew?
I used to live in DC, so I've been to a lot.
Okay. Probably not everyone has lived in DC, so you know.
You're right. I used to quite frequently go to the Smithsonian's because they were free.
Sure. Right.
It's a great place to take a girl on a date too.
Sure is. And your kids, everybody loves it. Everybody loves a good museum, right? Everybody does. But
I get where you're going with the question. So we'll pick the number. We'll pick 30 as the number.
In your life. So you're in your early 30s. You as a human are in your early 30s. So if we average that, that's one time a year. Okay? It's one time a year. So you like art. You like art. You like photography. You like all kinds of things that involve beauty.
I like airplanes. I like spy stuff. I like museums in general. They're cool.
Right. So not everyone, you'd be surprised that, I'm going to say 80% of the country has probably not been to a museum as many times as you have in your life, you know, and that is a shame. Okay. It's a shame. And so as you look at your life and you look at museums you've been to, you know, you probably saw things that were created by hand that were absolutely incredible, you know, from art, from paintings to sketches to sculptures, you know what I mean, to mud work, to pottery, to all kinds of beautiful things, you know. airplanes, all kinds of amazing things that the human hand has made. All right. As we progress in time, like I said, the wheel is moving. It's not going to stop. So as we progress in time, do you remember Demolition Man?
Was that a video game?
Oh my gosh. You're making me real fucking old. So yes, it was a video game, but it was also
a video game where the guy had a hammer and then he would go ape shit like after like 4 levels.
No, you're wrong. No, definitely not. Anyway, stop making me feel fucking old. So add that to your list. Demolition Man is now on your list, okay? It was a Stallone film, all right? And he gets frozen and they thaw him out years later, okay? And he's in the future where everything looks fucking insane. And he's just like, what is going on with everything? Well, this chick ends up liking him, and he goes to, do the deed with her and whatnot. But she says that's gross. They don't do that. They don't swap liquids in the future. They put on headsets so they can feel the sensations. And he is like, what the fuck is this? So what I'm saying is we don't want to lose beauty and what we create. We have to, at a point, go, hey, look, we have to continue.
So let me ask this, because I have an interesting opinion on AI as far as standard writing, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. Where theoretically, I could have wrote this whole interview, and I've never used AI to write an interview, because I think one of the problems when you're building an interview is that ChatGPT could have wrote something what I wrote for this interview as my guideline sheet with ease, without a doubt. But the problem is that I critically thought about what I wanted to talk to you about. Right. And I critically think about where an interview is going to go. Sure. So I think this is where, me and my boss have had a very nonchalant discussion about it at my job, where what does the next generation look like with AI if the AI is doing it, but they don't have the critical thinking skills behind it? So and that's where I think this gets really interesting, is that because that's the problem that is.
Were you familiar with the Turing test?
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? I missed what you said.
Turing test. Are you familiar with it?
I don't know. It's not ringing a bell.
Yeah. So this is the third thing for your list, okay? The Turing test. The Turing test is to decide whether you can tell the difference between a human and a machine. An AI, if you will. Do you think there's ever been one that passed it?
What did you say?
Do you think there's ever been one to pass the Turing test?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
I mean, there's been one. They've passed the Turing test. There have been AIs that have not been able to be found out by humans. So what I'm saying is, you mentioned critical thinking. You should really do some research in the Turing test. You'll find it very interesting. So there's also a film about it that's really, really good. Anyway, so my point is, you know me as a person. You've talked to me for many, many hours.
I hope you're a person. This would be really tricky if you weren't.
Well, nowadays, you never know. But my point is, you mentioned critical thinking, okay? But an AI is not going to know me well enough to ask me some of the questions that you'll ask, to elicit some of the answers that you want to get for your audience to hear. Some of the information that you're trying to drag out. As a good interviewer, you're looking for an end game. You're looking for certain information you want to hear me say out of my mouth, okay? And I'm good for it. I'll bite almost every time. But my point is, an AI doesn't know what to ask me. It knows what a normal interview is going to ask me. It knows about a subject that I may be aware of, and ChatGPT will ask me. Fuck that program, by the way. But my point is, it doesn't account for variables. None of these things account for variables. They only have the information that you give them to work with. So if you go, like right now, I've read some of the scripts that these people are like, well, look at ChatGPT has wrote a new movie, and I've read them, and they're such ass, it's not even funny. Like, it's awful. And again, it's because you're not giving. I mentioned meat and potatoes for writers earlier. I give them the meat and the potatoes. You're not giving them that. You're giving ChatGPT a couple things. If you were to give it direct instructions as to what you wanted to see exact, it could do it for sure. Same thing with that. What is that fucking art or would-be art program right now?
I don't know. I actually don't know because I'm not in this space.
There's a art program they're using right now that you put in like 5 prompts and it does a piece of artwork. Anyway, my point is that particular thing, if you were to give it instruction down to the wire, like I give an artist instead of a prompt, if the individual knew how to do that, you would get the perfect pieces. You know what I mean? There's no getting around how powerful the tools are. You know, all I'm saying is with great power, you know, becomes great responsibility and whatnot. So we have to use it.
My position is that there's a generation of people growing up on this, and they're going to lose that critical thinking component. Yep. And that is a real problem with AI.
We have to teach, Andrew. Like right now, I just had this conversation with my wife about this very thing. If I don't teach my children how to draw, or I don't teach them how to write, when they get to be 20, 21, 22, like my daughter writes now. It's what she does. She's also a singer. She wants to write for profession. You know what I mean? But my kid would pick like the 2 hardest things to get into to be, you know, successful with. But my point is, if I had not taught her, if I had not pushed the arts upon her, just like I do with my son, I push all the arts upon my children, music, you know, anything by hand to my children. And so, but right now, if I had not done that and they just went to school and they did their everyday thing like a normal child does, and then when they hit 20, 21 years old, and now they're like, I want to be an artist, you know, because we all change our paths every now and then. But now they've decided there's this new program, and all they have to do is learn this program, and it makes them an artist. I'll tell you a funny story. It's not real funny, but it's true. I was in college at 16, okay? And I was in college at the back lot on fucking Universal Studios property at the Dave School. I was the youngest guy that had ever been in there. I was only the second class that they'd ever had. One of the most prestigious places in the country, right? As I'm going to school and learning and enjoying and what it is to be able to bring things to life, all right? There was a big deal in the industry with Pixar. And Disney was firing people left and right to hire Pixar. And there was so much hatred for the guys that were doing it by hand to the guys that were coming in with computers. And I'll never forget, because I'm the guy on the computer and I couldn't get a job because all the jobs have been taken by the guys that were older than me. They were taking the jobs that the artists that were doing things by hand were losing. So, yeah, I think about it all the time. I think about the weird fucking mind fuck that it is that I'm on the other side of this now. And I remember hating, when I was a kid, I hated digital artwork. I didn't think it was real. But I got into fucking doing things with Maya and Lightwave and building things for a living, you know? And here I am now going, technology is fucking evil. But at the same time, again, it's how you use the technology. It's not that technology is inherently evil. You've taken something like we talked about earlier in the medical field that can figure out things a million times before a human could. You know, your calculators, anything like that. But you're taking it and implementing it in ways that plagiarizes other people. That's the issue. It's not the fact that it exists or people want to use it. It'd be different if it wasn't sampling other people's work. Then you could be like, I did this. Just like if you went and got a Wacom, right? You go buy a Wacom and you're drawing on your Wacom. That's awesome. That's your talent. You're doing it. Or fuck it. If you're sitting on, the Windows, what is the Windows art program? I don't know what it's called anymore. Windows Paint. Right. You got Paint up, right? And you're doodling with paint and your stick figures that are absolutely amazing, Andrew. I know what you do. So you do these amazing stick figures.
I'm so talented, guys. I'm so talented.
Right. Do these amazing stick figures in paint, But that's you. You did those amazing things. You drew it. You moved it with your hand to make it happen. You did that. You didn't borrow from any other people's work. Hell, even if you traced, it was still by your hand. It was still by your hand that did it. And I think therein lies the issue. And I don't hate AI because I think it's an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool. But you know what? People that break into homes and stuff use tools too that are supposed to be used for other things. So, I'm just saying,
I forget who said it. Alex Horzamez, I think. He's got 2 great books about funnels and sales and everything.
Yeah.
Great individual. And he was on with Graham Stephan, I think. And he's been called an asshole. He says, "Why is being an asshole bad? It's just a label. Being an asshole is not good or bad. If you call me an asshole and you mean it as a bad thing, that's you implying what it means."
Right.
First saying, usually if you call somebody an asshole, it's not a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
But usually it's presumed to be negative, but it's not. It's actually a neutral word. By definition, it's how you use it and imply it.
Right. Well, that's anything, right? That's anything. You could tell me, you could be Dustin, you're the biggest asshole ever, and I'm just like, you know what? It's all perspective.
Dustin, you're an asshole, and that's exactly what your company needs.
There's
a reason why you're successful.
I have to be who I am. I don't know how to be anyone else. So if that's what the label is now, you have to embrace that because you can only be you.
I guarantee you that I'm a bit of an asshole. In which there are people that I have said, "Look, I'm not interested in your book on my show for an interview." Right. But guess what? I'm being an asshole, but I'm also protecting a lot of things and a lot of
your brand, your product, yourself, your time.
I'm protecting the people who come on my show who are expecting somebody who is of equal quality or close to it or to rise up.
That's it.
When you have a top voice actor on, I can't have somebody who may or may not fund or might do something really stupid in comics or might do something stupid in cosplay. I can't be doing that right next to a superstar, for lack of a better word.
It's all the company you keep, man. You know what I mean? I have, again, going back to artists. If I bring on, we'll name drop him because I'm a big fan. Linsner, okay? Big fan of Linsner. April spoke to him this morning about working with us, and I've been a big fan since I was a kid. Dawn was one of my favorite books ever, even though it was way over my head when I was younger, but it's still
but I love Michael Linzer.
Right. You need to read Dawn. Oh my God. Anyway, so
again, it's on the list.
I'm too old, Andrew. I'm too old. Okay. The shit is, to me, Dawn was the indie, right? Dawn was.
Let me explain. So I need to explain something. I didn't come into comics until I was in college.
See?
So I came into comics when I was 18. So
right
I haven't been in comics all that long as a collector.
Right.
I'm 31, so we're talking 13 years.
Yeah.
So most people, you might have come in at 12, and if you're 38, you got a lot more time than I do.
Yeah.
So when people say,
I lived on a farm, and that was all I had. Comic books and novels on a farm. That was it.
I mean, when people say, "Andrew, how do you not know this stuff?" I'm like, you got to realize that I came in late in the game.
Well, see, the cool thing about that is you have all kinds of cool stuff that you can look into. You know what I mean? You have all kinds of stuff that can, like blow your shit right out of the water that you didn't know, because you came into a time period. You came in the, oh my gosh, the mid 2000s, right? So you're in the mid 2000s. 13 years ago, it'd be like 2011. Holy balls!
Yeah, 2011,
So
and
I'm already out of college and grown folking at that point. You know what I mean? So it's like when you look at that type of, you're already in primarily digital artwork at that point in time. Like you're in comic books, you're already in primarily digital artwork. So like then you go, man, bro, there's so many things I could show you. Anyway, but there's this concept where now you've seen this end of the spectrum, so you can look at the other end of the spectrum, with awe, and it's funny because I never want like anybody that I care about to ever go back and be like, I missed out. I don't want you guys to ever miss out. My kids, my friends, my family, I don't want you to miss out on things, So if like earlier you mentioned, how many books have you referred to other people? And I told you that Congo was the most recent because it was. But before that, it wasn't many. It wasn't many. And outside of comics, it was more novels than it was comics,
So for me, my whole thing is that I don't make recommendations on anime, on movies to my friends and other people
No, you
because
rock on your shirt. We all love Yu-Gi-Oh! I see you.
oh yeah, it's great, it's his face. It's $10. How can I
Don't
refuse
mess
a
around
good
with
deal?
Yu-Gi, boy. Don't mess around with Yu-Gi now.
But my point is that the reason why I mean, if somebody says, Andrew, what are you reading? That's different than me saying you gotta read this or you
Yes.
gotta watch this,
Yeah.
because that's the type of stuff that I'll say, if it's $50 and it's gonna cost you, spend the $50.
Yes.
That's what I mean by recommendation and really championing things. Like, and sometimes some people get it, and sometimes people are like, I paid $10 for that and it was shit, Andrew. Why'd you recommend it? But for
Right.
the most part, that's where I'm at. And
You
so
have a responsibility as a personality. Okay. As a personality, you have a responsibility. Me, I've never needed to be the lead singer of my own band, right? Like I am nowadays, even in my own company, right? I've never needed to be the face of my own company. So I step back now more than I have because I can now. Now I can. I'm in the shadows doing other things and I'm making things move and I'm working on other things here and there more so than ever. But you are in the face. You are, here I am. This is what I'm doing. Now I'm going to tell you this. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. You're wearing a Yu-Gi-Oh shirt. I know you enjoyed it. I don't give a fuck if it was $10 or $50.
I didn't care if it was like
right, no. But my point is, the minute you throw on the Yu-Gi-Oh shirt, I knew you were a fan. You know what I mean? Like the minute you come on a live show and you're like, I'm not going to talk about what anime I like or what manga is my favorite, but you come on and you're like, oh yeah, I got this Dragon Ball shirt on. That's pretty good shit. It's one of those things where you have influence.
I make the joke about this being $10 because everybody loves a good deal.
Absolutely.
But if this was $50, I bought another one of these for like 25.
Right on. I'm just saying, it's one of those things where you as a person have people that listen. They hear what you have to say. So it's I hate the term influencer, but it's one of those things where they do pay attention. Like your fans, we call them friends because I'm not cocky enough to have that. I have friends that are fans, so we call them friends. But the friends, they pick up things because they enjoy what we're working on. You, on the other hand, have a voice that says, I enjoyed this today. Have you had that particular new drink at goddamn Waffle House or Taco Bell or whatever the fuck it is? Have you had that? And then they're like, well, no, but I've seen it on the sign, Now, even if you don't tell them to buy it, now they've thought about it.
Oh, no. I wear this brand shirts on almost every single interview I do because I like these shirts.
For sure.
And, it's Ways Shop, and I think they're a great company. And
Love
it's
it.
like a soccer jersey. It's light.
Yeah.
It
Looks comfortable.
I mean, it's light, it's fun, and then they do all sorts of designs.
It looks
And
like it breathes well. I'm about to go get myself one or two of those.
and they got like Michael Jordan, they got Kobe, they got like the Squirtle Squad.
See, I'm about it.
They got to bring back the 90s. That's a
Again,
great one.
The minute you start going, they have this. You're talking again. You're talking marketing. You're talking buzzwords and stuff. As soon as you say Squirtle, everybody my age, or anybody that was born in '84 and after is before you hit like 1995. Before you were born in '95. You know what the fuck Squirtle is. You know what the fuck the Charmander is. You know your Venusaur. You know your Ivysaur, your Bulbasaur. So you're immediately going, oh, they do those? Those shits are bad, dude. I got to get one of those. And again, that's how easy marketing is. All these people act, again, that goes back to the comics broke me bullshit. Buzzwords, keywords, being respectful to people. All these things are important because in comic books, if you want to get there, and for anybody that's listening or paid attention to my shit for long enough in this show, if you want to get there, the one thing I can give you is to sell yourself. That's what you're doing. You're selling yourself. I want people to like me as a person. I want people to like my brand. I want people to like my stuff. But I'm not big enough for you to go, hey, look, is Marvel selling Ethereal books? No. Is DC selling them? No, but I've been in talks with WB recently, so fuck around. But my point is, that hey, there's an exclusive for you, Andrew. No, but my point is there is so much that you do as a person that we do as creators that influence how we do. You'll see all these people go, comics are going out. They're not making no money. Somebody lied to you, my friend. Someone lied to you, or they just didn't want to hurt your feelings. So we are selling ourselves, be good to people, be honest, be upfront, and do you, babe, do you.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. The reason how I get sponsorships and I get guests is I think I'm a decent human being. I think I'm easy to speak to. I ask respectfully. And then when I don't get an answer, I ask again in 6 months. And then eventually what happens is that if you keep asking, eventually the person hopefully will say yes if you have a long enough.
You're weighing them down. Hey, I messaged you like 6 months back. You want to come hang out with me. Come on now. Hey, I know you know my name, motherfucker. We talk.
No. So what happens is that I say, hey, I'm circling back. I reached out to you 6 months ago. I would love to have you on. I love your work and you're killing it right now. And it would be a real pleasure for me to interview you because I love everything you've done. And you killed it in that last anime movie.
It makes people feel good, right? It makes people feel good. Like when we decided that we were going to hire actual mangakas, it was like for My Metal Girl and for Kaiju Cuties, it was like, holy shit, who do we bring on? Do we try to get the old cats that we grew up with? Or do we talk to the guys that are coming up, that are out there doing their thing and people know who they are? It's very different than the American market. When you're bringing an actual mangaka over, you got to go, hey, look, do people like what you work on? Is your stuff cool? Then you got to read shit. And then if it's not in English, then you got to figure out how the fuck to read it. But it's such an experience, and again, we're in most of the globe right now. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if people have heard of us, I about peed when one of our guys had heard of us before. You know what I mean? It was like, oh my God, this guy works in actual anime. He's amazing, and he's just like, you're amazing. And I'm just like, oh, so it's one of those things where, again, you're pitching yourself, you're selling yourself. If you wanted to get in indie comics, hang out with Andrew. He knows what's up. He draws.
I don't know anything.
He knows about the stick figures. So
I know about the what? The what?
Stick figures, man. You are the master of the stick figure. I'm a
Oh,
fan.
my stick figures are amazing.
Man,
And, I charge like $200 a commission.
whole other level stick figures. Like I can't even begin to mess with
But that's only in with a black Sharpie. If you want colored Sharpies, that's like an extra 100.
Oh man, and the rainbow Sharpie has got to be like another 150 on top of that. Like,
Oh yeah, I clean and crane that.
yeah. Oh my god, that guy.
I like his artwork too. He's made me a lot of money.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, I remember the first time. To segue into Clayton Crane, nice guy. I remember I went into an old store when I was working in before I got into comics, before I started working for the government or anything. I had gotten I was working at the Frisk Museum in Nashville, and I would leave work, and there was this record store, like hole in the wall record store on my way home, and in Nashville, so you know it's going to be a good ass record store. And it doesn't even look like it either. Like it was dingy as fuck when you walked in there, and it looked like that store in the beginning of the Gremlins movie where the dude buys the Mogwai. You know what I mean? You walk in there and it's dingy and dusty and shit, but there's every cool album that could have ever been dropped on vinyl is in this place. You know, so but then when you walk into the next room, it's all comic books, wall to wall, floor to ceiling comic books, and I remember seeing the Venom Carnage book, like the first issue of it on the wall with the new issues. And I still have it. So it's not even like super old. It's got to be like 15, 16 years old now. But I remember picking it up and going, man, that guy's artwork is unique. You know, it's unique. And not all unique is for me, trust me. Like his worked. There have been some and I'm like, man, no. But it's subjective. Art is subjective. So you could find, like, I am not a fan of Dolly. Like, I've worked with his work. Like, I did a whole exhibit on his work for like a summer, and I'm just not a fan. A lot of people love him. I'm not a fan. You know, I'd rather look at a DeBalzac, not a DeBalzac, which is a giant nude man, to be fair. But still, it's a great piece.
Way over my head.
It's a great piece. It's huge. It's got to be like 8.5 foot tall. It's a great piece of artwork. But I would rather work with that kind of sculpture than work with dollies. But anyway, that doesn't say anything about me as a person. They're both talented. I just would rather stare at the bronze naked man than the melting clock. That's all I'm saying.
I don't judge.
Hey, no judge. It's great artwork. Anyway, my point is, not everything is for everybody in artwork. That's just like programs. That's like tools. It's all about how you use them. It's all about how you treat them, how you respect them. No, I'm real glad I can always answer your questions, Andrew, and I can always answer you honestly, because you take in what you hear. You're like a sponge. Well, it's fun because like I'll watch your interviews and you'll be able to remember, or you'll bring up a clip from something that you'd seen previously and be able to add to the conversation. And I think that's powerful as an interviewer. You're not just the guy that's like, you have.
It used to be that way.
I used to be that way. I was that guy, and then I got my Yu-Gi-Oh shirt, and then I wasn't that guy no more. Yeah, I'm with you.
No. I used to be that guy where it took 50 the first season of the show in audio, and then the next about 50 kind of found my voice, and then I changed formats onto camera. And I've been openly criticized on what I do with the way I do things, but it works for me, and that's how I feel. And I haven't looked back. And all I know is that I hope it's working. And
it gets better every show, bro.
I don't even know if it gets better every show, but I'm evolving every show.
But that's humility. I'm letting you know from someone that watches from the outside that the shows get better. Every one of them I've seen that comes out later is better than the one before.
I hope so. I mean, I can tell you that my Fridays don't get better, but I love my Friday night wrestling talks. Those are fun.
Wrestling talks are fun, but wrestling, again, that's another subjective thing. I'll say this, though. I will say this. I have never enjoyed the creative team as much as I do right now. Like, I was a big fan of the Attitude Era I was young in that time period, so I was watching it. I grew up with it. But and so I am that dude. I'm old enough to know that I enjoyed it and I was part of it. But as much as I enjoyed it, there were parts of it that wouldn't exist now. Like people are bitching about The Rock right now and the things that Rock is saying. And I'm like, cool, man. Cry all you want, but if you'd have been around in the Attitude Era, it would have hurt your feelings. You know what I mean? You'd have found something else to watch.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff in the Attitude Era that
man
were great. We're great. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin flicking off Vince and then stunning him and telling his boss to fuck off.
Yeah,
great.
They were great things, man.
America needed it at that time.
That's right.
Everybody felt it, and
everybody I knew was glued to TVs watching that shit when I was a kid. Everybody I knew, everybody's families I knew. It was one of those things. But I think that the fans are evolving. You know what I mean? And it's just like comic books, though. We have to have an understanding, and it's an interesting topic for you coming up. The fans are evolving as well. The generations are different. Comics, the cats that were with the older comics are getting older. You know what I mean? They're getting older. Like I was born in 85. So like when I got into Spider-Man, it was McFarlane's era of Spider-Man. I remember, all that stuff happening, the Jim Lee X-Men stuff. That was the stuff I grew up with. That was what got me into comic books.
What I grew up with was not that. I grew up with manga.
Right. See? But you didn't get into comics till you were 18.
I was a manga reader.
We didn't have manga when I was a kid. So if you were...
Yeah, what were you saying?
We had Ranma and a Half. Okay. We had Dragon Ball. We had some Appleseed stuff. We had Akira.
So let me explain my. So I used to go to Barnes and Noble every weekend when I was like 7 to all the way through high school. Right. It was great. So they had a Starbucks there, and I got my Frappuccino, and I would get a manga book. And my parents encouraged that because they thought it was good reading, right?
Right.
So
right.
What I saw is 2 shelves of manga, like 7 shelves of graphic novels.
Right.
And over the years, in that 11, 12, 13, because I went to college, I lived on campus about 35 miles away, but every other weekend I'd be home. And what would happen is that I slowly saw the manga section eat up the graphic novel section.
Absolutely.
And to this day, there is more shelves in the graphic novel section, but ratio-wise, it's about 15%. And the manga section is devouring, and they have to put tables in different locations throughout the Barnes for the excess manga.
You think I hired real mangakas for no reason? That shit's not a joke. I knew what the hell I was doing. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, you couldn't get Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? You had to, not till I was like 13 or 14. My aunt lived in California. So they would order stuff from Hawaii and send it to us like taped VHS tapes, man. Like shit that they bought from somebody that had moved to California. You know what I mean? Like we would get these bootleg ass VHS tapes with Dragon Ball episodes and stuff. Because we didn't have that shit. We did have a video store, a little teeny video store that used to carry the Guyver. And I rented that shit like religiously once a month, like religiously. And when I was like 12 and 13, like it was the most amazing thing. But anyway, what I'm getting at is we have this evolution of what's happening in comic books, in reading material, the things that we digest, right? Godzilla just won an Oscar. Fuck around. That's amazing. You know what I mean?
And the Heron just won an Oscar too.
I mean, shut up. So good, right? Like it's one of these things where I, as a kid, was a fan before the shit was cool. You know what I mean? And I think that stuff, like right now, right? My daughter went to school today. You know what she's wearing? She's wearing a hoodie of mine from when I was 16 years old with Jack Skellington's face on the cover. I'm 38. I bought that when I was 16. Mind you, that movie came out like 8 years fucking before that. Okay. So what I'm saying is all these things are coming back, and they come back in waves, right? Manga was something that got introduced that we didn't have. So now all of a sudden it's huge. Okay. It's huge. It's never going to go anywhere because it's so big, right? But the storytelling is so good in most of them. And they can all tell the same goddamn story. Don't mess with me, Andrew. I know what's up. You can tell the same story, right? You can tell the same story with a couple different characters, different names, different haircuts, and different hair colors. But the story's the goddamn same. Okay? Okay? Fuck around. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So then you go, if you don't draw any lines between goddamn Naruto and Black Clover or Black Clover and Dragon Ball, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, my point is, though, you get these stories where dudes are like, I am putting out this story, and it's the same one, but it's outselling every American comic book. It's the same story that you read a year ago from a different writer, but my character looks a little bit different, but it's selling out like wheat cakes. Why is that? Because of the way we tell stories. Okay? If you guys don't believe that shit, go pick up a manga, go pick up a light novel, and then pick up a regular comic book. You know what I mean? Not one of mine, because you'll have a hard time. Just saying. But if you pick up right now, if you were to pick up Amazing Spider-Man, which used to be my absolute favorite and ceased being after fucking Brand New Days bullshit. But anyway, so if you pick up Spider-Man, then you go pick up, like Kaiju 13. Go pick up Kaiju number 13 and read Kaiju number 13 and read Spider-Man. Guarantee that you're going to go back for Kaiju number 13 before you go back to Spider-Man.
I'll throw the easiest one. Pick up volume 1 of One Piece. You're in for life.
I just wish there wasn't so much filler. Man, look, they have so much filler
in the anime or the manga.
In the anime.
Because I agree. I agree.
They did it with Dragon Ball. They did it with Dragon Ball. They did it with Naruto. They did any of the jump.
Do you actually know how much filler? Do you actually know how much filler is actually in Dragon Ball Z?
More than there is fight scenes, I tell you that much.
There's only like 30 episodes of filler in Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, because we need to watch Goku figure out how to drive his car. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's the best episode ever.
No.
Yes, it is.
Pointless. It is pointless. It was a great series. And it has influenced me more than a lot of things.
No,
and
see, you're just wrong. This is why we can't be friends. The only episode of filler you need is when Goku and Piccolo are learning how to drive. Because it's
only because Piccolo had the great outfit on. But my point is, there's like when I watch One Piece, I'll watch it in like 15 episode increments, and then I'll skip 30, and then I'll catch 15 more, and then I'll skip 30, and then I'll catch 15, and that's just because that's Shonen Jump and the way they tell a story. You know what I mean? It's just I don't need to know about the little girl that makes fucking things eat her fucking face and become her friends. You know what I mean? I get that it's crucial to the story, but I don't need to know her backstory.
I'm not watching One Piece. I'm just reading the manga.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. I bought the Shonen Jump app, and this is talking about reading things legally, right?
Sure. Yeah,
it's $3 a month.
It's a great buy. Like, it is dumb how good it is. I'm with you 100%.
So the app for $3, I feel better about buying something legally for $36
a year. Yeah,
and it's digital, and I don't want to fucking buy One Piece physically because I have nowhere to put it.
Oh my gosh, not even that, because there's so many volumes and the price. You know what you'd have to pay to get every volume of One Piece right now?
$10. It's $10 a volume. It's 10 chapters. It's not even the price. Money for One Piece, because I will eventually buy it. I just don't have the space right now in my current environment.
But I don't know.
I'm gonna buy the whole thing all at once. And there's a
Well, they've got those neat crates that you can buy.
That's where
That's another jump thing. You can buy their crate of books. But again, it's a great series. It's such a good series. I'm a big fan. But I do enjoy the books more than the show. I think the books were much better.
It depends on the series. So,
well, I mean, for One Piece, I'm sorry. For One Piece, I very much.
I agree. If you're watching Beastars on Netflix, that's a sick show.
It is a great show. Also enjoyed the books more than the show, though. So
I've seen the show. I haven't read the manga yet.
The show is great. The manga is a billion times better. If you enjoyed the show, you will try to binge the shit out of the book. Like you will seriously.
I have the first 3 volumes in my house. Good. I just haven't gotten around to reading.
It's so good. It's funny. Right now we're working on. My Metal Girl gets here this month, and My Metal Girl was so much fun. And I know you hate the cover because it's cringy because your leg. I understand, but the book itself was so much fun to do because I have never worked with a mangaka before, like a real one. I'd never done that. And it was such an amazing experience because Zai, when I gave him the script, had to have it translated. You know what I mean? But when he did, it was so interesting how he viewed each panel that we did for the book. It was very, very interesting. And it came out beautifully. But then on top of that, it was just like the way that he was portraying the things, like the character designs and stuff like that. It was such a cool thing to see because he would be like, he changes things, right? Like, so if you're working with an American artist or a comic book artist in general, they're very on it. They want to be on it because they want to give you exactly what you're looking for. Okay. A lot manga artists will go in and pull off super deformo shit and weird ass like moments. Like there's a scene in My Metal Girl issue 1 where Rhea goes to kiss Jin and she's like, or Raya, I say Rhea, it's Raya, and I get all kinds of heat for that. But anyway, she goes to kiss Jin and she's all embarrassed and he puts flowers all in the background of this panel. And I'm just like, well, why did you do that? And he was like, well, that's how you express this type of feeling. And I was like, well, that's super interesting because I would not have thought to do that, And so, like, we started working on Kaiju Cuties with Win. Win is working on current anime that are running right now. And I can't. That's another one of those names that I can't give you the real one for because he's just he uses on social media. You guys can find him on Win if you look me up, but he won't give out his real name because of his other profession. Anyway, so my point is when he does because Kaiju Cuties is hentai all day, and it's a lot of fun. And
you know that I had a semi relationship with hentai.com, right?
I didn't know that, but that's amazing.
So I sort of it's complicated. I can't go into too much of
my relationship with they're real complicated.
No. What happened is that I got to interview their spokeswoman, and then something a falling out fell between their VTuber spokesperson, and then that relationship disintegrated.
Oh no! Right on.
It's just business. There's no animosity between anybody, but obviously my connection, and I'm just not taking a side.
No, right on for sure. So the book is a hentai. You know what I mean? It's hentai all day.
Oh no! You fit right with that company.
Yeah. It's well, to be fair, it's more ecchi than hentai. But anyway, he starts doing these characters. And if you guys follow me on social media, you'll be able to see all the characters. He puts them up on our Facebook all the time. But they're super fun. And it was like they make faces and stuff. Like they do these different versions of like surprise and shit. Like when you see those goofy faces they make in an anime, they really draw that shit in the fucking books. Like if they draw like the jaw drop thing, like it's a very serious book, but they do this jaw drop. And it's like the jaw just that doesn't make sense. The jaw doesn't go that far down. Versus an American comic where it's very, very serious about your proportions and your situational things with your body and stuff. Where they'll draw something and it's just like, that's really cute, and I didn't even think of that. You know what I mean? That just is funny to me.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this book at some point too.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure. But I really appreciate you having me, Andrew. It's been such a blast.
So obviously, I'm going to briefly show this.
Yeah.
So this is the cover. Please. This is cover. This is a cover.
So much fun.
This is a cover. This is a cover.
Right?
I don't know who this is. I don't know who this guy is.
Right, that guy.
Yeah,
he's
that
done like every book I've put out in the past like 4.5 years now.
My Steph Wilson interview with Carrie Ann was great. It was great.
Absolutely. They're beautiful.
I thought it was one of my worst interviews, and everybody in my audience was like, "Dude, this is your best one." I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" I'm like, it wasn't Steph's fault. It was just like, I was like, I asked what I wanted to ask, but I'm like, oh man, I felt like it didn't hit, and apparently everybody was like, "Dude, it's like you got to go in detail with like 9 of his covers," and that's exactly what we wanted. And I'm like, really, guys? Like this is what everybody wants. It was great. But there's this one right here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, that cover is awesome. Like so again, you have artists that I like. I have a short list of artists, and I was like, man, look, I gotta get him. Like, I gotta get him on it because it's gorgeous, and you'll see him. He's gonna be on a couple books, so good stuff.
So, what reward is that? Just so people can have access to that. If you don't, that's fine.
I don't have it up because I'm working on tonight. I've been working on the BGD 5, which drops on Friday. So,
and then there's this one too.
Man, it's so fun. Vic Moya, that's such a great cover. So weird not seeing my name on a cover of my own books. But it's funny. It's like a strange feeling. It's a very strange feeling.
And then you have her.
Oh my gosh, Jessa. Oh man, Jessa is so much fun to work with. She's actually cosplaying Penny and is the official Penny cosplayer for Theater 7. So you'll be seeing a lot more of Jessa. We just hired like an entire set of Ethereal girls. So you'll be seeing a ton of the Ethereal cosplayers at shows. Every show that we're at this year, they're booked for it. So yeah, you'll be seeing.
That's amazing. I tried to hook somebody up with the bad bug, and the person got back to me, and I'm like, I want to get you work, girl. And I was like, if somebody says, Andrew, I'm going to get you a paid gig, I say, awesome. What is it? Right? Like I respond within like 2 minutes. So
yeah. It's not everything's for everybody though. You know what I mean? You have to be, and stuff like that is very personal. So you have to be very, I don't know, like.
I'm just saying, we talk about professionalism, right? Let's say you didn't want to do it, or let's say I didn't want to do a gig. I should let the person know.
100%. Hey, look, man, I'm not interested. Thank you for asking. Or even if I told you I was, and then I changed my mind, I would be like, Andrew, I've had to change my mind a little bit.
Or this, I said, hey, look, I have a friend who's looking for a cosplayer for a paid gig. Do you want me to hook you up with them or connect you with them? Right? That's all I shot the message to. That's simple. It's a yes or no, or I'm not. I got enough things going on with my Patreon but I should have been granted a response because
it's respectful. It's just respectful.
Now I know not to bother that person again for a paid gig.
Yeah.
So that's all that is that if the person said, hey, I'm busy right now, but keep me in mind, again, it's just good business. But I digress.
Again, everybody's got different. Look, my wife has said something to me for years and years, and it has been ingrained into my brain. Not everyone is going to act and or react the way you do. So you have to understand that. You can't expect them to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I used to get pissed off. I'd be like, why didn't that person do what they were supposed to? And my wife would be like, well, would you have done it? And I'm like, well, yes or no. I may have or I may not. But I would have reacted in some way, shape, or form. And she's like, you know, you can't expect people to be.
I just shot back to the guy who was looking for it. I said, hey, the person hasn't responded. I tried. And that's all I said. In which I wasn't looking for a piece of the action or anything. I just want to hook people up with each other who need help.
Well, that's it, man. You know what I mean? It's just it's making connections. You know what I mean? You're trying to connect one box to another box, and if people don't reciprocate what you're offering, then it's whatever. It's not on you.
Again, I'm going to be continuously sticking out my neck for people, and if they don't want to stick out their neck for me, that's perfectly fine, because I will live the way I need to live and what I think is appropriate.
Yes,
but
sir.
That's neither here nor there. But I do have one question before I allow you to promote yourself. So, what's going to happen at WrestleMania? Because this is the question we all want to know. And then we have night one. We have Cody and Seth versus The Rock and Roman.
You know, and my personal opinion on WrestleMania. I've heard it all, right? I've heard it all from all the different people and Sportskeeda and WrestleMania and everybody else, right? So, and shout out to those guys because both of them put out amazing articles. From a writer's standpoint, I feel like that WWE likes to push the envelope with WrestleMania. They like to do the exact opposite of what you assumed was going to happen, right? So all these people right now, they're all pushing and saying Seth Rollins is going to turn on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And then The Rock is going to turn on Roman Reigns on Sunday night. I hear that a lot. Seen that a lot. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be as cut and dry as everybody is pushing. I think that we're going to see Seth and Cody lose. Yeah, I do think we'll see that. Just because that's the expectation. The Rock, as awesome as he is, as a philanthropist, as a actor, as everything he does, as awesome as he is, he doesn't like to lose. If you listen to interviews, he'll tell you he's very honest about his opinions. And he's only gone over for people once or twice, so, and yes, he's very wise with talent. Again, he's very good at what he does, and he knows pushing Cody's a good thing, and that's why the Cody Crybabies thing works. It pushes people, it pisses people off at The Rock, and that was the goal, but I think in my heart of hearts, yes, I think that I think that The Rock and Roman are gonna win on Saturday because that's the build-up, right? That's the build-up. And then on Sunday, you're expecting that big shebang, that big fucking payoff, right? The receipt from Saturday, if you will. And for those of you that speak that language. So the receipt for Saturday. But I think you're going to see something different than you expect. I don't think that The Rock is going to turn on Roman. I don't think that's going to happen because people expect it. And they've been real good at not, since Vince has not been on the creative team, they've been real good at not doing what's expected. Even if it pisses fans off, they've been real good at not doing what's expected. So I think that you're going to see Cody win. Yes, I think that's going to happen. I think they've already given that away. I don't think that's going to change. But what I think is going to happen is I think you're going to start a whole new deal with the bloodline. Because there's so much merch, there's so much shit going on with the brand, with that particular group of people, that I think you're going to see Roman Reigns step down. I think you're going to either see Solo step up. I think you're going to see him step up. And you're going to see your Paul Heyman, sit in there and be the voice of Solo.
You mean Hall of Famer Paul Heyman?
I do, which is awesome because he's amazing. He really is a very talented man. His interviews are the best I've watched. Like, I'm a big fan of listening to him just talk about the industry. But no, I think that you're going to see either Solo step up and he has got Paul Heyman in his ear because he's doing it for Roman already. You know what I mean? That shit is. He talks more than Roman talks, and he shows up more than Roman shows up. So I think that you see Solo step up, or you see The Rock step up, and The Rock run the bloodline.
This train is going to go right into January, which is the $5.5 billion Netflix deal.
Absolutely. And I think The Rock said it himself. If you watch the interview where he dropped like 5-6 F-bombs about Cody Rhodes, if you watched that full interview, he talks about that deal. And he talks about how he was a part of that deal. As, a member of the board of this company, it makes a lot of sense that he would be part of that deal. So for him to come back in such a large way and to just go away, that doesn't make any sense. Even if you only see him once every 2 months, I don't think he's going away, but I do think you'll see him more than you see Roman. I think that we're going to get to this point now where it's like the Bloodline 2.0. Have you played the video game 2K24?
I have not.
Okay, so spoiler warning. In the game, Roman abdicates the throne, like the belt, and leaves WWE.
Okay.
And he comes back and reforms the bloodline with Jey Uso in it. I don't think we're going to see Jey Uso join the bloodline. I don't think we'll see that. But Rikishi is also talked about coming back in a managerial role. So, and he's also going around chanting yeet all over Twitter.
This is also the question, is that there's other members now that may or may not have contracts that are up.
Absolutely. There's at least two. There's at least two that are free right now. So
and obviously they're not going to be in WrestleMania, because I think it'd be really
not. Now, I don't know. Because
so let me ask you this question. I want to table this for 1 second, because I have a theory about night one, and I'm curious what you think. So I think Cody and Seth are going to lose, and then obviously you're going to have bloodline rules. But then I think Damian Priest is going to cash in on Seth on night one.
You know how interesting that would be? It would be very interesting, but I don't think they'll do it.
Or, because I think, let me revise my position, either on night one, or he'll do it right after Drew McIntyre.
I can see that. I don't think it'll happen on night one because of the fact that Cody Rhodes will still be in the ring. I think in night two, so all of Seth's allies, okay? Let's break that particular theory down real quick. Man, oh man. So I have to sleep eventually, Andrew. So anyway, my point is, so you have the whole deal with Seth Rollins being an ally of Jey Uso, an ally of
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. So all three of those guys, right? All three of those dudes are in matches that night. All three of them. So if you get Damian Priest involved, Seth Rollins has no backup. There's not going to be anybody to help him.
So I have a theory on how it's going to go down too. I think they're going to cash in, and they're going to do what Blackbeard did to Whitebeard in one piece. And that's how the Judgment Day is going to take out Seth.
Do you think so?
I do. I think you're going to see Dominic doing something. I think you're going to see Finn Balor do something. And I think either if Seth beats Drew, or they're going to screw Drew over and turn Drew face, and then it's going to be him going after the belt, and that he doesn't get his WrestleMania moment, because last time he got one of those, that was the whole thing. It was during COVID, and so they're going to play off of that.
I can see that. But again, it's one of those things where, what is the long game? You're always trying to push the long game, right? So eventually, like right now, Sportskeeda keeps talking about how there's supposed to be new members of factions coming in. But do you remember that they were saying that Jey Uso was supposed to have won the title off of what's his nuts the other night? Oh my gosh,
Gunther?
Gunther, yeah, supposed to win the title. Like there was a whole big interview about it, right? So the original writing was he was going to win the title till like 30 minutes before the match, and that whole conversation has been proved, like it happened, and Triple H and the creative team were like, "Hey, look, someone leaked this out because they talked about it a day before it happened." So that evening they changed it 30 minutes before, and Jey Uso didn't even know that he wasn't going to win the belt anymore. So now you have Sami Zayn, who's going to go up for this belt. I think Sami loses. And I think after, you're going to have the Bloodline go after that belt. I don't think that they're going to go after. I don't think it's going to be a long, drawn-out thing with Drew McIntyre. I think they're going to go after Gunther because that's what they just said like 2 weeks ago.
I get that. My whole thing with Damian Priest is that when does he drop the Money in the Bank? Because isn't this the pay-per-view after Mania?
Did you see the interview with him like 2 weeks ago where he was like, they told me I wasn't allowed to do it?
I didn't see this.
So there's an interview with one of the wrestling podcasts where he's quoted saying they told me I wasn't allowed to cash in. So I don't know what
it's a whole problem with the Judgment Day because the most relevant thing that's happened was R-Truth.
Right, and that was fun. It was fun, but it's made them look very
weak.
Right, for lack of a better word. Yeah, and it's
a joke.
I agree with that. So I think that we're about to see some shifts, like some polar shifting. I think we're going to see some people quitting. I don't think we're going to see much AJ Styles anymore. I think he's going to be walking before long, to be honest with you. He's talked about retirement a few times. So
I don't see AJ Styles retiring. I see more of the legacy and coming back every here and there because I think he said he wanted to end his career in WWE. He's had a nice deal that's going to give him a bunch of money, and WWE wants his merch rights.
For sure.
So he's going to be. I could see CM Punk not making it to SummerSlam.
I don't see. Oh man, that's another can of worms. But all I'm saying is, I think that your theory is interesting. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I think it's interesting. I do think it's an interesting theory.
Because I think my theory about the Judgment Day is that they should be a position where Finn is always in the Judgment Day, but components come in and out for a while.
I agree with that. I do think that you're going to lose Damian Priest. I don't think he's going to stay in the Judgment Day.
You mean we're going to lose him as far as the Judgment Day, not in WWE?
Not as WWE.
Yeah, I want to make that crystal clear.
No. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's going to be a free agent or anything like that. His contract's great. I had a buddy that just sat with him on a plane like 3 months ago and was talking to him about everything. And he could be full of shit. You know, he could have been lying to my buddy the whole time. You know what I mean? But they were flying from Florida to somewhere. I think it was Florida to Tennessee. And he was just shooting the shit with him the whole time.
That's great. That's great.
Right. But so I think there's a lot that we're going to see happen. And WrestleMania is one of those events where they drop the bombs. Like they save the events for WrestleMania to drop the bombs. So, I mean, I think that Bayley beats Io all day. I think that happens.
You think Dakota Kai is going to side with Bayley?
Well, not after the other night. I don't think so. But you know what? They've painted Dakota as a turncoat since she joined the company. You know, like always turning on people, always.
With Nixon, Noel, and that thing at War Games.
Yeah, I don't think that she's.
I love Nixon. She was on my show.
She's great. I do think though. I do think that we're going to see something interesting. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think we're going to see something interesting in that area.
Because isn't this the final thing that Bailey has to accomplish in
That's
WWE?
it. Yeah, she's won everything else. She's done everything she set out to do, and she said it several times. She's been like, this is the only thing I haven't done yet. This is the only thing I haven't done yet." So
I gets it. I really do.
well, I think that we're going to see her get it. The weird thing is they didn't put her on the video game cover. That's weird for a winner of the event. If you look back in the past, a lot of times the winner is on the cover, except with the exception of John Cena last year. I don't know what the deal was that, but
I mean, the thing about John Cena is that he probably hasn't been on the cover in a while, and they just want to brand him and sell.
for sure,
That was just plain business,
right?
straight up
Well,
plain business, and good business too.
I do. It is good sense to use him, but I do think that you're going to see almost every title change hands. I don't think you'll see Gunther change hands. I think that's the only one you won't see change hands. Even though, to be fair, I think it's Sammy's time. Sammy's done his time.
I think it's also time for Gunther to move up into the world championship range.
I don't think he has the talent to on the mic to be a champion. I don't think it's there. If he worked on his mic skills, if they gave him a year to work on his mic skills, like he had that he did that promo with Jey Uso, and it was like, man, please stop talking. Like, please stop talking.
It's kind of like Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre went and worked on his mic skills and did a fantastic job and got jacked and did what he had to do. And I'm a little bit biased because I got a NXT 2.0 hobby box for like $40. Yeah, and I bought the Drew McIntyre parallel red card autograph for $40. It's a good steal, right?
Yeah, for sure. He's very interesting. His situation is interesting because every time you turn around, his contract is up in the air. Every time you turn around, his contract is up in the air. Like, literally, and it's him bitching about it every time. So I don't know that I'm going to put someone in a champion seat that I have to worry about running away from the company.
But that's the thing. I think that they just have to sign him and pay him good money and take care of him.
I don't know that he's going to carry what they want him to carry. I don't know that he has the talent to be, man, like he can wrestle. He can wrestle. That's fine.
Maybe. I'll give you a baseball position that I think of with somebody like Drew. Same thing with Seth. Same thing with Becky. Same thing with John Cena. Is there are guys that have carried your company that you really need to take care of because I think you can't afford to lose them. And
I don't think he's that good, man. I honestly don't. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Again, we could still be friends because it's only wrestling.
Right. Yeah. I just don't think that if you look at it like this, look at it objectively, okay? Objectively. They have tried to put him over so many times in the past year. They've literally put him over so many times. He's beaten guys that he had no right to beat in the past year. Like, no right to. And he always, like, they've cemented the whole heel thing, but he still thinks that he's a face, you know? And it's like, it's good storytelling for the character, right? It's good storytelling. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I don't think he has the power, the star power, to be a heavyweight or a world heavyweight champion. I just don't think he has it because look at Seth Rollins, right? Seth Rollins has always been to me a B card. He's always been a B card. You know, when he was everything he's done until he decided he was going to wear these flamboyant outfits and have somebody do a song that they could filter in to the stadium that people got in on and enjoyed. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we can relate to Seth because he's got a real catchy tune. That's marketing again, 101, man. So the catchy tune.
Seth Rollins. He could have wore that thing at the Oscars. I don't know if you saw the Oscars. Ariana Grande's dress and Seth Rollins' flamboyant outfit are the exact same.
Exact same.
It's amazing. So she
it
stole it from him.
Yeah. So anyway, my point is you can make a talent that people like. You can make people like someone. You know, same thing with Cody Rhodes. Okay, same thing. Dude, not even B-level talent, right? Not even B-level for many, many years. Many, many years. Not even B-level talent. And then you bleach his hair. You have him talk shit about Triple H. And now all of a sudden he's relevant. You know what I mean? The only relevancy he had before that were the matches with his brother that were good. Outside of that, he got worked a lot. You know what I mean? So now you bring him in again. You give him a catchy tune. You give him an outfit to wear, and you give him a story, and then you put him on both shows as much as you can. Now he's in our face all the time. Again, this is marketing 101. Now we've seen him.
I thought he was a B+ player.
Man, no, never, fucking never. So now
you're not on the Cody Rhodes train, are you?
No, well, I don't. I like him now. I like him a lot. But he's favorite. Grown.
So let me explain. My favorite T-shirt was in 2020 from Hot Topic. It was Cody for President 2020.
Right on.
And so you have him in front of a crowd, just like in front of a microphone, just speaking. And I'm just like, I wear that shirt. People are like, you know, we're in a very heated election cycle at the time. You're like, this is a great shirt because you're like, this is.
I'm with you.
I get where everybody got this shirt.
For sure. But he is an amazing talent, but he's grown into that talent. He's really grown into that talent. And he's grown into that position, you know, and he's grown into it.
So
but before that,
let me ask you this then, because I need to ask.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, AEW fucked around with that contract, and they shouldn't have fucked around with this contract.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing. WWE was smart to get him back because he's just worth every fucking penny they're paying him.
Now he certainly is.
I think he was worth every penny that they were paying him before this, because they
weren't paying him anywhere near what they're paying him now.
Oh no, I mean when they brought him back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it took him about a year to get to where he is right now.
Absolutely.
But he was worth the money they paid him on his contract.
For sure.
After he fucked up, because if you knew the plan to get him there, he is underpaid. Is a good way to put it.
Right now,
he's underpaid.
I agree that he is the face of the company right now. I don't give a shit what anybody says. The guy's the face of the company. You know, you want to talk about your Seth Rollins, you want to talk about your, you know, your bloodline.
I'll agree with you, but on a slight challenge. John Cena is the face of the company indefinitely, without a doubt. You think WWE think John Cena?
I don't think that you can. The Rock is the same way. I don't think that you can.
Right. The day-to-day face is Cody Rhodes.
Absolutely, 100%. But again, I don't think. I think you set him up right now. If he doesn't win on Sunday, then you've fucked up that whole game. No one cares anymore.
Then he'll quit and go to AEW again.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. But his contracts, I don't see that happening. But all I'm saying is, when you've taken this character and you've played it and you've played it and you've played it, right, from a writer's perspective, you can't fuck the guy again, because now no one cares anymore. Now you've run the gamut with it and we're done. We're tired of it. We don't want to see it anymore. You know, and then if you keep fucking Jey Uso, and people don't want to see that anymore. We all know that every time he has a title match, Jimmy's going to come in and screw him out of a title. That's just it's stale writing. Okay, so if we don't see an end to that at WrestleMania, or a different kind of involvement, people are going to get real tired of seeing characters they like. If you look at Jey right now, Jey has one of the best fan responses in the entire industry. You know, and absolutely, people love it. People fucking love it. And he outside of WWE, he's a really nice fucking guy to begin with. So you're right now. He just did an interview about how he'd be willing to go to war with the Bloodline. as long as with Cody Rhodes, as long as they got quote unquote more soldiers, is what he said. So I see the Bloodline 2.0 thing going very far, and it being, again, instead of being like War Games was last year, it'll be War Games against the Bloodline this year. That's what I see happening. But I don't see it being Roman Reigns running it when it happens. I don't think that's going to happen.
Man, this is so exciting. Again, this is what Friday nights are all about.
Yeah, man. From a perspective of a writer and watcher, since I was knee high, I don't feel like they're going to. Again, Triple H has been running creative better than Vince ever ran creative.
Well, you're going to leave it at that, but I have to ask you one more question before I give you a chance to promote yourself. Who inducts Paul Heyman?
You want to really know who I think does?
Lie to me.
Because it's going to hurt people's feelings. I think Brock Lesnar inducts Paul Heyman.
Yeah, see, I have a different opinion. I think Paul Heyman inducts himself.
We have made a grievous error recently as people. Okay? We've made a grievous error. They've come out and they've publicly, almost, if not apologized to Lesnar for the accusations that were made against him. And he's back in the video game on patch 1 when they took him out of the video game because of the accusations. So all of the merch that they said they weren't going to sell no more is all back on the website. All the fucking, you were going to erase this guy from history, and here he is back with fucking bells on. I think, again, that it's going to be Lesnar. And if you look, either that or Roman, it'll be one or the other. But I think that if there was a storyline that it didn't really play out like it should have, where Lesnar turned on Cody in front of Roman. And if you read the original ideas for that, were that Roman paid Lesnar to go after Cody. That's how that story was supposed to go down. And because Lesnar was the only guy that whooped Roman's ass the way he whooped Roman's ass. And he was like, I don't want to fight Brock Lesnar again. So from a story writing perspective, it's a very interesting concept. But again, I think that we're in for some real exciting events. I think that we're going to see some stuff that the last one to me was very boring. So I hope the last year's WrestleMania was pretty boring to me, except for Cody's match. I thought he should have won, whatever. But other than that, it was fairly stable.
I could see Brock Lesnar inducting Paul Heyman. I could also see Eric Bischoff doing it.
That'd be great. I'd love to see Bischoff do it.
Because they had a pretty big rivalry in a lot of ways. They also worked in WCW together. So I could see
they also worked in ECW together at a point.
So I could definitely see that, and I think that could be cool. And they might not want to bring back Lesnar into that so quickly because it is still a little sensitive.
I think it will bringing Lesnar back. I think that it's a possibility, but I think it's a low-hanging fruit, to be honest. I think that if you bring Lesnar back, and he's after a title. That's what you do. Because he's still the most paid guy in the company right now. So whether they got rid of him or whatever, his last contract was still the number one paid wrestler in the whole company. So
I'm sure there's a few added bonuses for all the shit that just happened.
I'm sure after all the accusations, I'm sure he gets a title shot. And I'm sure he gets paid leave for everything that's going on.
I'm pretty sure also he might have some merch bonuses coming in too, without a doubt.
Oh man, can you imagine? The Beast didn't do it. There's gonna be some
terrible. We're gonna both get canceled because of that.
There's gonna be some merch, I'm sure. You know, I think that people should get ready for something interesting, though. I think this is going to be the best WrestleMania that we've had in the past few years. I think the card is pretty stacked for a good
I'm
show.
excited for it. I'm excited for it. I'm trying to convince a bunch of my friends to come over, and we're all going to
Man,
get a call.
yeah,
Time.
I'm ready for it. You know, I'm ready to sit down. All the kids will be out of my hair, and I love my kids, but my daughter might watch it. She's a big fan too. She might come down and watch it. But I think that, again, to your question, I think that we see Roman and The Rock win night one. I don't think we're going to see Seth Rollins turn on Cody Rhodes. I don't think we're going to see that, just because it's low hanging fruit. And then because if you listen to the conversations that are going on back and forth right now, Rollins has not gone at Roman. He's not gone at Roman once. He's not shot at him one time. He's talked all kinds of shit about The Rock, but he's not shot at Roman. He talked highly about Roman to Cody, about being in the Shield with him. You know, and he was like, I created this, I have to stop it, whatever. I understand. But at the same time, you've also got Roman, who has talked mad shit about Seth Rollins, but he also called him his little brother. I don't know if you caught that.
It's going to be good, man. It's going to get interesting. There might be some very interesting surprises.
So I think that we're going to see some interesting stuff. Anyway, amazing interview. Mad fun. Love hanging out with you, Andrew.
Where can people find you? All that fun stuff. Promote
yourself. God, everywhere. Social media, we're on every platform right now. And you just have to search Ethereal Publications, Ethereal Comics, or Dustin Brunell on just about any, except with the exception of TikTok, because I don't use it. But I'm on Twitch, I'm on Twitter, I'm on X, whatever. I'm on, Instagram, on Facebook, anything like that. I'm on Blue Sky, So any of that shenanigans, you can find us. The best thing to do is join the Facebook group if you're interested, the Ethereal Book group. You can join it. You don't need anybody to approve you joining. And then you can see all the artwork we're putting out and all the books that are coming out and the schedules and all that jazz. And you can ask artists questions because a lot of times they'll answer. So, you just got to tag them. Outside of that, man, we got a new book. We got a book live right now. We've got the Ascension Saga live on Kickstarter. And then we've got on www.ethereal-comics.com. The new books will be put on there next week. So if you shop there already, new inventory is going up next week. And then, Babies Born Dinosaurs 5. Holy crap, issue 5 on Friday. And if you're into the dirtier side of things, the Red Label has the Squeeze Some book dropping on Friday, which is April's art book. So that's a whole different bag, but it's still our company. So feel free to check out all that kinky goodness over there with the Squeeze Some book. Anyway, glad you guys are hanging out with me and Andrew. Andrew's a great guy. Make sure you follow him more. Love that.
Yes, I'll promote myself, and I'm going to keep saying what I have to say is you have to support indie. What that means is when people have books out there, either it's on Kickstarter or other crowdfunding platforms, you should go back those books. And if you can, our money's tight because I've been there, you've been there, everybody's been there. There are other ways to support. Obviously, following people on social media, interacting with them on social media, sharing out links, telling people about it goes a long way. And it is incredibly, incredibly helpful in a lot of ways. So that's another way how to support. And then let's say that you already backed the Kickstarter, but somebody has an internet shop. You can purchase books from them on their shop too. Or if they're at a convention, you could go pick up some stuff at a convention. And I'm sure that if somebody brought you a book from Kickstarter and you were at a con, you would happily sign it for them.
Yep, absolutely. Oh my gosh, we have so much fun signing books at shows.
So I'm sure of it. So that's another thing too, and that's a big deal. So obviously there's all that stuff. And then as far as I'm concerned about what I got going on, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. I have a bunch of Facebook groups. I think I have Indie Comic Connect. It's free to join. Just fill out the questions, guys, if you want to join, and basically you can promote anything you want in comics in that group. You are more than welcome to do anything you want there, within reason. Just don't put porn.
Within reason.
Don't put porn in my
Y'all
group.
behave.
What'd you say?
Behave in the group. Don't act crazy.
No. You can have a debate, but just don't put porn in the group. That's all I ask.
Nobody needs porn in their debate groups. We don't need that.
So that's all I have. But again, you can check me out. Pretty much Pop Anime Comics is mine, and then I have YouTube. That is Pop Anime Comics, and I also have eBay right here. So if you're looking for comics and collectibles, come shop with us on eBay. Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, and I do a Whatnot show on 9 o'clock Fridays, and I'm doing Mount Olympus Anime Night. So I got some fun books, and on my Whatnot guys, I have all 15 of these in holofoil. So I'm the guy who buys out a print run from Mount Olympus. I'm that guy. And I bought out this one too, because we're having a boo of a time.
Yeah.
I think I've bought out 3 from Mount Olympus. I bought out some stuff from Merck. And then I bought out like 40% of the rogues that just dropped from Mount Olympus. I'm a very evil person. But yeah, so if you want those books, 3 of them will be available this Friday for anybody who wants them. So it's gonna be good, guys. It's gonna be a good show. My prices are reasonable, and I also may or may not have Luigi as a Takenuki in lava foil with big balloon tits. So that's an expensive book. I can't judge your facial expressions on that.
I believe it.
What
book is that on? What book is Luigi in a Tanuki suit on?
Topless Tanuki suit.
What book is it on?
Oh, it might be Valkyrie Savers.
Jesus. Okay.
It's Larissa, and oh my god, like there's 25 of them in the lava foil. It's just sick. Like one of them, the one I have is up on eBay, and I have number 2 out of 25, and I have number 1 out of 25.
That's dope.
And I paid good money for the whole set of them.
Right on.
Bundle of 300, and oh man, I'm gonna make a fucking fortune on that shit.
Okay, I believe it.
That's because Ron is a good person.
Zavala is great.
He's absolutely great. I had an issue with them just recently, and they took care of that pretty quickly.
He's a good dude. I've known Ron for years now.
They've really caught up on their orders.
Right.
Like they've caught up where I think they're like maybe 10 weeks behind, because at one point they were like 8 or 9 months behind, and so that's a big jump, and we got to give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely. Well, Ron's a good dude, and I'm not going to say nothing about his situations. He's a good person, and I hope that people continue to support Mount Olympus.
Yeah, no, I think you know what it is. I think that they hit 80% of the time. I think they have amazing covers, and not every cover can be perfect. Unfortunately, when you're producing the amount of work they produce, you're gonna miss a few shots. But that's just the nature of comics.
That's the nature of the game, dude. You know, when you put out, man, look, I got 7,000 books came in like a week and a half ago, right? And I go through every book that comes in, okay, every single issue that comes in. And there were 20 of them that were damaged out of 7,000.
It's pretty good.
You know, it's great, but you're never going to sell, or those books are all accounted for. So, but you're never going to turn around and say, I just did this number of books and not have 1 damaged or 2 damaged or 3 damaged. I could have got 100 damaged and would have been okay with it, and they would have been fixed in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Oh, I was just speaking about just the fact that sometimes a cover is just the cover, and it's unexpected and it takes off like a rocket, and sometimes you just miss a position on a book, and it's just bad cover.
I should watch that, right? Like I should watch my own books aftermarket. Like I don't ever watch them. I had a dude was like, "Hey, look, I just saw this book go for $120 on eBay," and I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." You know, it happens every blue moon. You know what I mean? Most of the time, our books don't show up on eBay. I don't see them very often.
1040 has some of your books. A few other people do.
That Mike has a. I don't know. He might be 1040. Mike is an official seller, so I don't know if that's what his. Like he does Whatnot and stuff. Like we've got, man, look, I have official Whatnot sellers and shit now, and I don't even.
Your books will eventually be on my Whatnot.
I need to keep up, bro. Like I need more time to keep up with all that stuff. But this whole damn TV show is taking up my time, and I don't have time to do shit. Anyway, there's another exclusive for you. TV show at hour 3 and 15 minutes. But yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna go make sure my kids are where they need to be in their beds, take the dogs out.
I'm also gonna go to bed because
do a few things
1 in the morning in
Eastern
time, and I gotta be up in 6 hours.
Yeah, man, whatever. We have too much fun when we get together. So
we don't do this too often, though.
No, that's what makes it special. That's what makes it special. You know, I'm one of those guys that you gotta take in moderation.
It's all right. I could take you. No, I'm not gonna say the rest of that sentence. I was about to. Then I was like, you know what? This is a really bad idea.
I appreciate all the love, Andrew. Be good, and thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Well, I believe that is a wrap, everybody.